This little novice monk listens every day to his master bringing mung bean cakes to the cave behind the mountain. He says this is where their ancestor retreated to cultivate. But all this time he hasn't seen anyone here. His stomach is too hungry. The little novice monk can only shout loudly, "Ancestor, please give me a piece!" Hearing no reply is taken as agreement. "You gave me some to eat, right?" No response. The little novice monk thinks about his master's big belly. Could it be that the usual mung bean cakes were secretly eaten by him and there's no ancestor here at all? So he happily munches on the mung bean cake. Suddenly the whole cave collapses with a loud rumble, making him freeze in fear. After the dust settles, he looks down and sees the piece of mung bean cake has fallen to the ground. The little novice monk holds his head in regret. My peanut cake. Looking at the delicious cake on the ground, his heart aches like it's being cut. Tears run down in regret. Why didn't I just take one big bite earlier? Just then, a young man with white hair suddenly appears next to the little novice monk. That piece of cake can't be eaten anymore. He is startled and looks back. Then his face turns angry as he points at him. Tell the bad guy to give my mung bean cake back. The little novice monk swings his short arms with all his might to demand justice. But the man calmly stops him with one finger and says, "That cake clearly belongs to me." The little novice monk looks at him in confusion, then walks around to examine closely. Could you be the ancestor? The man also looks puzzled and asks, Are you a disciple of Tuyet Duktu? He proudly crosses his arms and respectfully introduces himself. I am No Tran, the 107th generation disciple of the Tuyet Duktu ancestor. At this moment, holding his head full of nostalgia, it's been over 500 years since I founded Tuyet Duktu, and it has grown strong to the 107th generation. Ngotran then flatly slaps him with reality. Actually, it's not that strong. The current ancestors are only two people, me and my master at Tuyet Duktu. The man immediately turns to stone, unable to believe it. Just then a girl with a pure soul rushes over and hugs him tightly, crying, Help me, there's a snake. There's a snake? Such a pure soul, definitely from S's experience, is not a bad person. He awkwardly tells her, Even though I'm handsome, miss, you should still keep some dignity. But his enjoying face was detected by the little novice monk as addicted, still shy. Notran turns around and sees a small snake rushing toward him. With an effortless move, he grabs its head and puts it into his bag. His face beams with joy, smiling with eyes closed. Today we have snake meat to eat, hey. The patriarch holding the girl also exclaims, You're a monk. The girl, also full of question marks, runs over and asks the boy, Aren't you afraid of snakes? Ngotran replies, Snakes are delicious, why be afraid? I'm not afraid either because I'm delicious too. This guy is pretty something, huh? The girl just holds her head helplessly. Where did you learn to flirt? Then she introduces herself. My name is Diep Bang from Hang Tan. I came here looking for Ngo Vien of Tuyet Duktu. Do you two know him? Ngo Tran quickly answers, That's your master. Can you take me to see him? Diep Bang curiously points to him and is introduced by Ngo Vien. That's our ancestor. She immediately panics. Ancestor, why is he so young? Could it be the male god I hugged earlier was an old man, recalling her grandfather's words from a few days ago? If you can invite a master out of the mountains, you will surely gain great benefits. With his granddaughter's love of handsome guys, Grandpa could only say, He's the most handsome man I've ever met. Back to the present. Deep Bang curiously asks Ngotran, Is your master handsome? Making the little boy confused. If counting inside Tuyet Duktu, maybe he ranks second sister. Is that considered handsome? Diep Bang is at a loss for words with this little novice monk. At the same time, a luxury car stops at the foot of the mountain. The door opens and a man steps out. His thoughtful gaze is directed at the ancient temple Tuyet Duktu on the mountain peak. That is Dung Cat from the Tourism Corporation. He has tried many times to buy this land but was firmly refused by the abbot. Behind him, a confident man stepped forward and arrogantly said, This is simple. Just demolish the temple and it's done. Dung Cat shook his head warningly. That old monk is no ordinary man. Last time I brought 5 men and he still defeated us. The man sneered, Hey, don't compare me to those useless guys. I am La Bao, the 5th-ranked fighter of the Iron Armor Gang. Saying that he raised his hand to lift a giant stone and hurled it straight toward the temple atop Tichthak Mountain. Tuyet Duk Temple remained peaceful, thanks to Ngotran's guidance. Deep Bang, and he arrived at the temple. As soon as they entered the courtyard, Ngotran hurried off to find the master, leaving Diep Bang standing there. The elder also quickly left to find some food. Ngotran ran in breathlessly to report, Master, the patriarch has come out of seclusion. Ngo Vien sat still, making the boy panic. Is he dead? Suddenly the old master woke up and asked, Has the food arrived? Ngotran breathed a sigh of relief. Oh, thank goodness he's still alive. The old master opened his eyes wide. Where did the patriarch go? Where is he? He hurried outside and saw only Dep Bang standing there. Suddenly, a strange object appeared, making both of them widen their eyes. Deep Bang shouted, "Are you kidding me?" That was the giant stone La Bao had created, hurtling straight toward them. It might even level the entire temple. Deep Bang cried, folding her hands to pray, "This is it, and I still don't have a boyfriend." Ngotran turned pale with fear and pointed at the stone. "Master, the old monk is protecting us." Ngotran stepped behind the hem and gathered his energy in both hands. Ngotran hid inside his monk's robe, clinging tightly to the master's leg. A formation appeared beneath their feet. Ngo activated a protective barrier formation to withstand the attack. The stone hit the formation and was temporarily stopped, but soon after the formation shattered. The old monk was also affected by the backlash. Ngotran anxiously supported the master. "Are you okay?" On the roof, their patriarch sat calmly eating mung bean cake. Taking a bite, he looked up to see Van Thak rushing toward him. Hey, I'm eating with one finger here. Can you please not disturb me?" Van Thak was right above with one finger extended. He gently caught the stone. Lightning crackled around it, then the stone exploded. He calmly finished his cake. After the explosion, Van Thak was reduced to fragments. Deep Bang looked on the rubble at her feet and asked Ngotran in confusion, "Did your master cause this?" "Yeah," Ngotran, clueless but excited, reached toward Ngovian. "Master, you're amazing." The boy grabbed the corner of the master's robe, his eyes full of admiration. But clearly it wasn't the old man who did it. Deep Bang asked Ngovian, "Are you Ngovian?" The old man answered calmly, "I am Ngovian. May I ask who you are, miss?" Deep Bang was utterly disappointed. Nothing to do with the words handsome guy. First, the grandpa, now deceived by him too. The two disciples looked at her miserable expression, not understanding. Ngovian suddenly remembered and turned to ask Ngotran, "Right, you said, where did the patriarch go?" The boy looked around, searching. "Yeah, where is the patriarch? He was just behind you earlier, but now the patriarch had just landed on the ground." Ngotran hurriedly pulled the elder master's robe. "Master, the great patriarch." Ngovian turned around and saw him quickly running over with both hands raised to salute. Ngovian came to pay respects to the patriarch, but before he could finish, the man grabbed his collar, gesturing to stop the salute. "Give me water, eating mung bean cake too fast made me choke." Deep Bang opened a Coke and handed it to him. Without knowing what it was, he drank half the bottle in one gulp. His eyes suddenly lit up. "What is this? It's so delicious." He looked like a child. Deep Bang didn't know he had never drunk soda before and found it very strange. Seeing him praise it, Ngotran wanted to try too. "Patriarch, I want some too." The boy also took a big gulp of the drink as if entering heaven. Before he could rejoice, the master took it back. Ngotran pleaded, climbing over the patriarch. "Leave me some, don't drink it all." Ngovian was always alert. He sensed guests arriving. Labao leisurely climbed the steps, telling Duongkat, "Don't worry, Tuyet Duk Temple must have been leveled by now." Duongkat thanked Labao profusely. While boasting just as they crawled up to Tuyet Duk Temple, both were stunned to the point of dropping their jaws. The scene isn't as imagined. Nothing has changed here. The thing that changed is Labao's Van Thak has shattered. The old abbot is still there intact without a scratch. Deep Bang also glanced over at them. Duongkat broke out in a cold sweat seeing this scene. "Labao, brother, this isn't right." He said it was definitely flattened already, so what's going on now? Labao didn't understand what had happened either, but looking at the old monk, he regained confidence and explained to Duongkat. "It seems that old monk activated some formation to stop the rock, but he's already exhausted his strength. He stepped forward to intimidate the old monk. Hand over your Tuyet Duk Tu quickly, or I'll level this place with my fists." While threatening, he raised his arm like this, clearly pushing too hard, wanting to exchange techniques immediately and forcibly. The two got close, Labao's face full of provocation. Nearby, Ngotran threw a tantrum, crying to the master, "Why did you drink it all and not leave a single drop?" He held the bottle, unable to hold back his emotions. "It's so good I couldn't resist." Deep Bang crossed her arms. "Don't understand why you're fighting over kids' food." No one paid attention to Labao causing trouble. He felt insulted. "You have to listen to what he says." At this moment, Ngotran noticed the person standing a distance away. When he recognized Duongkat, the boy pointed and called the master a bad name. "Last time Duongkat threatened the old monk, I'll give you half a minute to think it over. Either you come out or we'll break it." Ngovian calmly said to Ngotran, "Didn't you always want to learn Tweet Duk Queen? Take a good look." Ngotran anxiously reached out toward the master. Labao's body was eager to fight. Ngovian channeled the Tweet Duk Queen technique created by Master Dep Tweet Vu, extremely powerful. He originally planned to teach it when the boy was older, but maybe this is the last chance. The word sounded like a deathbed confession. Deep Tweet Vu heard the name and felt it familiar. Isn't Tweet Duck Queen the martial art you once performed? Labao had some strength. A single momentum cracked the ground wide open. He rushed forward, intending to strike the old monk with his fists. Ngo Vian reached out to counter, but when their hands nearly touched the old man, suddenly changed direction, swooping down to strike a sensitive spot with his fists, but he was avoided. Deep Bang and Ngo Trun gaped. Deep Tweet Vu sat aside, assessing the move was correct but a bit slow. Labao spotted a weakness, jumped high, clasped his hands to gather strength, then attacked the old monk's back with full force. Ngo Trun shouted, "Master!" The old man lay flat on the ground. Labao stood before him, demanding the Tuyet Duk Tu. Despite serious injury, Ngo Vian refused to easily give in. Labao saw the old man was stubborn, then go die. His foot aimed straight for Ngo Vian's face. When his foot nearly touched the old man's face, and the old man couldn't resist, both Deep Bang and Ngo Trun tensed up. But no, he wasn't so easily satisfied. Deep Tweet Vu used his foot to block him. "What do you think you're doing? Trying to kill my disciple." And Ngo Trun happily said, "Master is here, so it's like being saved by the master." Ngo Vian also thanked him. He turned and told Ngo Trun take Master down to rest. Deep Bang helped escort the old monk inside. Labao attacked him. One punch swung, but he only tilted his head to dodge. At first, Labao laughed confidently, but then his expression changed. So fast he vanished from Labao's sight. At this moment, his hand had already reached a sensitive area. Actually, he just wanted to teach his disciple a lesson. This is how you use Tuyet Duk Quien. The egg cracked, making Labao deformed. He rolled on the ground, feeling the pain. Deep Tweet Vu brushed off the crowd. Deep Bang gaped, jaw dropped. Wonder if they saw that clearly. Dung Cat witnessed Labao being defeated by him and was scared. How can he be the fifth-ranked master in the Iron Armor gang? Yet he couldn't even hold his own against him for a moment. Ngo Trun's eyes sparkled like little stars as he looked at Deep Tweet Vu reverently. Master is really formidable. Labao lay on the ground angrily, clutching some grass. Being beaten like that was really annoying. Deep Tweet Vu lazily yawned. The old abbot respectfully clasped his hands and saluted the master. He threw a pill to Ngo Vian. No need for formalities. This is a healing pill, eat it. Labao stood up and pulled out something. Squeezing it tightly in his hand, it emitted a purple light with small sparks. It turned out to be a hammer. Since he couldn't fight normally, he brought out a weapon. Jung Cat saw Labao carrying the hammer on his shoulder and gaped. This is a superpowered weapon grade D. Sounds pretty formidable. Labao gripped the hammer tightly, jumped up from behind to ambush Deep Tweet Vu, but he turned and kicked with a not-too-strong kick. He just flew off the peak back down to the foot of the mountain. Then his hammer spun in the air and finally fell into his hands. This hammer is really ugly. Dung Cat is quite a coward, seeing that he got scared and then fled the mountain at top speed. The glasses fell off, probably no need to meet again. In his mind, the mountain is full of monsters now. Otherwise, what human could do that? Deep Bang said it seemed that hammer is a superpowered weapon grade D. Ngo Trun had thousands of questions. Why sis? What is a superpowered weapon? Grade D? She explained superpowered weapons are weapons that can grant super energy to people. That kid still has so much to learn, so what is super energy? Miss Can and Gon, always. Deep Bang pointed at him and the old monk asking Ngo Trun, "Aren't they superpowered users?" Ngo Vian hurried to clarify she misunderstood they practice martial arts, not superpowers. So in her mind, she misunderstood. Deep Tweet Vu turned the hammer over and over, seeing nothing special. Threw it to Ngo Trun. That kid is very happy to have a weapon. Kids are easily satisfied. Deep Bang remembered Grandpa once said after superpowers appeared, martial arts declined because they couldn't compete. So why is it not like what you know now, Ngo Vian? Now there's a chance to ask Deep Bang. This time what brings you to Tuit Duke Temple? Ngo Vian asked. But Deep Bang seemed to have forgotten her main purpose. She hurriedly introduced, "My name is Deep Bang. My grandfather is Deep Thien Li." Ngo Vian was surprised. "Are you the granddaughter of Thien Li? Is your grandfather still well?" Meanwhile, Ngo Trun was busy playing with the new hammer in his hands. Deep Bang shook her head. "My grandfather's condition isn't good. I came this time to ask the monk for help." The old monk agreed immediately, though he hadn't seen her grandfather in a long time. Ngo Trun swung the hammer hard onto the ground, shouting, "Ngo Trun bong bong hammer." A layer of mist appeared. The boy and the master stood watching the result. A small tornado moved toward Diep Bang and Ngo Vian, lifting the old monk into the air. Ngo Trun found this weapon really powerful. Deep Tweet Vu was also interested. He didn't expect a weapon could be used like this. Ngo Trun refused to show him, saying no. "The person who gave it to you, you can't ask for it back." Deep Bang reminded them. Aren't you going to save him? Ngotran then suddenly shouted, Master, hurry and save Master! Deep Tweet Vu retracted the hammer, causing the old monk to fall from the height, creating a loud thud. Deep Bang helped him up. Ngotran ran over to ask. Hongovian said wearily, He won't die, just rest a while and he'll be fine. This old bone is really worrying. He looked at the hammer. A jade was attached, murmuring, This aura feels familiar, like the monster from that year. Diep Tweet Vu and Ngotran helped Diep Bang down the mountain. She went ahead and Ngotran sat on his shoulders, following as an escort. 2 bottles of coca tricked the 2 super-powerful bodyguards to follow them down the mountain. Diep Bang felt she had accomplished something big. They each held a bottle of coca, drinking joyfully, as if living in a sponge world, to boost their speed. Diep Bang promised, If you get down the mountain before dark, I'll reward you both with another bottle. Deep Tweet Vu and Ngotran's eyes lit up as they sprinted away at full speed, leaving her behind. But wait, that's wrong. The mission is to bring her down the mountain, so why are they ahead of her? At the same time, in a corner of Tic Tac Mountain, Labao was seriously injured. Someone approached him. He noticed and looked very surprised when he recognized the person. After 3 hours, Deep Bang finally limped out of Tic Tac Mountain with a cane as dusk fell. Upon seeing the other 2, they were leisurely gathering firewood. Deep Tweet Vu was eating an apple, thinking about what just happened, growing even more upset. But in the end, too exhausted, she sat down on the ground. She was too tired to walk anymore, and didn't have the energy to be angry. This place was still 3 hours away from Hangthan. She regretted sending the driver away earlier and having to suffer alone now. Deep Tweet Vu kept drinking Coca-Cola continuously. Ngotran, carrying a large hammer on his back, asked Deep Bang, Where do we go next? She couldn't walk anymore and decided to find a tavern to stay for one night, then figure things out. She opened her phone and saw a tavern nearby, immediately brightening up and signaling the 2 to follow. Seeing a place to rest, she happily bloomed like a flower, her fatigue easing considerably. After all, at least at the tavern she could rest, or so she thought. Deep Tweet Vu and Ngotran found it strange. Just moments ago she was too tired to walk, now she was so enthusiastic. Ngotran curiously asked Deep Tweet Vu's master, Why do we have to find a tavern to sleep? Deep Tweet Vu had no idea what a tavern was. Probably she just wanted to drink. When they arrived at the tavern, it was almost dark. Inside was crowded and chaotic, full of shady characters. Everyone carried swords and knives, looking far from friendly. The half-open door caught the attention of the guests, who all became alert. They stepped inside, and everyone's eyes fell on a girl with a normal young man and a child. Deep Bang stepped forward to greet them, saying they wanted to rent a room. A short-haired auntie holding a half-smoked cigarette who looked like the manager asked which sect they belonged to. Deep Bang was surprised. Sect, I don't belong to any sect, I'm just renting a room. What does that have to do with anything? Deep Tweet Vu cheerfully introduced that they were from Tweet Duk Temple. The name Tweet Duk Temple was unfamiliar to her. She waved them off, saying this place only serves superpowered sects. Ngotran and Deep Tweet Vu were struck like lightning, feeling slapped in the face, never heard of it, so it's fallen that far already. Deep Bang slammed the table, saying it's not that they can't pay, so why refuse to rent? A blade was pressed against her neck. The wielder warned the young lady to listen carefully. A figure appeared behind, saying the place was fully booked today, apologizing while pressing the blade to Deep Bang's neck. The sharp blade could easily injure her with just a slight mistake. She was scared and said, fully booked is fine, but why use violence? He stepped closer, threatening that no one here comes without a blade. If she wants a room, she could stay with him. It turned out he had bad intentions toward her, his disgusting thoughts matching his ugly face. A hand grabbed Deep Bang's hand. Deep Tweet Vu immediately pulled her out, swapping places to help her escape danger. Moving so fast, Aunt Loy didn't notice and even asked if she needed to reconsider. He was surprised, eyes wide. Since when did you switch to someone else? How did a woman turn into a man? His expression was very vivid. Diep Tweet Vu radiated an aura that scared him like a fierce beast. Under Diep Tweet Vu's pressure, Aunt Loy fell to the ground. Her companions immediately drew weapons, all pointing at him. At that moment, someone spoke up to stop it, Kai Dui, the innkeeper, Aunt Loy's boss. He reminded, don't forget the rules here. He bowed and apologized to the owner, Kai, saying it was just a misunderstanding from their side. He tried to shift this blame, but was signaled to silence by Kai Dui. After realizing the misunderstanding, Kai Dui apologized and introduced himself as the owner, asking for their understanding. He spoke apologetically. Deep Tweet Vu showed little concern, but Deep Bang couldn't let it go easily. You call him putting a knife to my neck a misunderstanding? She questioned angrily. Kai Dui could only bow and apologize, offering them a luxury room on the house. Though still annoyed, Deep Bang reluctantly agreed. At least they had a place to rest. Kai Dui ordered the auntie who had just kicked them out to escort the guests upstairs. She looked annoyed but had to comply. No one knew that Kai Dui had noticed the hammer on Ngo Tran's back, especially the sparkling gem embedded in it. When she reached Diep Bang's room, she suddenly remembered she had forgotten to request 2 separate rooms. Because she was too focused on the argument, the cold aunt replied there was only 1 room left. If she didn't want it, then forget it. Diep Bang was angry at the woman's attitude but had no choice. Seeing Diep Tweet Vu and Ngo Tran naively opening the room door, she silently thought, "Oh my God, do I have to sleep with these two?" Fortunately, the deluxe room was quite spacious and fully equipped. Diep Bang decided to sleep in the inner room, and the other two would sleep in the living room on the condition they did not enter her room. Ngo Tran excitedly jumped on the sofa and started thinking. The people downstairs were not ordinary. Why were they all gathered here? He was curious but couldn't find an answer, so he used his spirit to probe around. As his spirit spread, he suddenly spotted Diep Bang preparing to take a shower. Ngo Tran blushed, his heart racing, and quickly withdrew his spirit. Downstairs, the group that had caused trouble was discussing. One asked Koloi the boss if the guys today had any issues. According to him, Diep Bang and Ngo Tran were normal people, but Diep Tweet Vu was unpredictable. Koloi finished his beer, saying that guy seemed to have some strength, not someone easy to mess with, hoping his goals weren't like theirs. Then he ordered we will depart according to plan. Koloi stood up, deciding not to rest anymore. Their target was the Spirit Stone recently appearing on Tic Thac Mountain, which excited him greatly. However, he didn't know his plan had already been discovered by Diep Tweet Vu. Diep Tweet Vu withdrew his spirit and opened his eyes suspiciously. The Black Spirit Stone is coming down. Diep Bang gently opened the door and peeked inside. Everyone was sound asleep. She tiptoed across, but suddenly a voice startled her. "Hey, you came at the right time." It turned out Diep Tweet Vu had woken up. Diep Bang awkwardly said, "I'm just stepping outside to hang clothes." Diep Tweet Vu asked if she knew about the Spirit Stone. Diep Bang was confused. At Tic Thac Mountain. Meanwhile, the men from Manhwa Bang were advancing deep into the forest. The boss shouted loudly, "Hurry up, what has appeared this time might be the Black Spirit Stone. If we get it, our Manhwa Bang will level up." On a high tree branch, a woman with blue hair sat biting a piece of meat in her hand. Smiling. The Black Spirit Stone is the Blue Spider Duong Na, the 3rd officer of the Iron Armor Gang. She sat cross-legged, looking down at the Manhwa Bang group and murmured, "Heard the news quality stuff here." With her was Labao, the gang's 5th member. He asked if they would go for the Black Spirit Stone. Duong Na stood up and laughed. "The Black Spirit Stone is much rarer than the purple one. Our Iron Armor Gang only has the boss owning one. Do you think we can miss this?" Saying that, she jumped down to the ground. Labao asked again, "What about the Spirit Stone thief of mine?" Duong Na replied, "Don't worry, he won't escape. I'll go inform Dai Hung." Back in the room, Diep Bang turned to Diep Tweet Vu and asked, "You don't know about the Spirit Stone?" Diep Tweet Vu pointed to the hammer on Ngo Tran's back. "Is it this thing?" Diep Bang explained that about 500 years ago, Spirit Stones appeared in the world. They look like purple 4-pointed stars inside beast bodies. Later, people discovered they grant enormous power to humans. Spirit Stones are divided into 3 types: purple, black, and red. Purple Spirit Stones are usually used to craft superpowers weapons like Ngo Tran's hammer. As for Black Spirit Stones, it is said they can instantly grant people superpowers, but I've never seen one. Diep Tweet Vu pondered, surely it's related to the monster from 500 years ago. Black Spirit Stone, huh? Let's go check it out. Diep Bang turned back into the room, but Diep Tweet Vu had disappeared. She shook her head and yawned. "Fine, let him sleep." She turned and walked away. The door slammed shut. Shortly after, the door opened again and a shadow entered. Ngo Tran was still sound asleep, drooling. He grabbed the storm hammer and held it up to the moonlight to examine it carefully. It really was a spirit stone. Meanwhile, the Manhwa Bang group had reached a clearing. According to intelligence, the target was right ahead. Suddenly, a strange noise came from the bushes. Koloi paid attention, snorted, and a fierce beast appeared. He quickly struck the beast's back, causing it to fall down in pain. At that moment, another step sounded. Koloi was surprised. Who's there?" Duong Nga sat on a tree stump, propping her chin, and smiled. "QDM, thanks for leading the way." Koloi realized her intention was to steal the spirit stone. He lunged forward, shouting loudly, "Wanna die?" Duong Nga pulled a weapon from her crossbody bag. Slash! She blocked Koloi's attack and countered with satisfaction. Koloi was struck and fell down. 3 hours earlier, in a small town near Tic Thac Mountain at the dining table, someone asked, "Hey, mister, that is what you just told us true, or are you drunk rambling?" Mr. Dat, his face flushed red, laughed scornfully. Do you doubt the word of the Intelligence King? I personally saw the spirit beast carrying the Black Spirit Stone at Titchthak Mountain. He shouted loudly, I've already sold this news to the Fierce Tiger Gang. A female practitioner sitting at the next table heard every word clearly. Everyone trusted the information after hearing it and rushed outside to see the Black Spirit Stone. Quick, let's go check it out. The old man. Deep Thien Lai chuckled softly, sweat running down his cheek, thinking, Titchthak Mountain is in chaos. The traveler stood up, adjusted his hat, and passed by the drunken man. Hey, where is everyone? Why are they all gone? The dagger on his leg flew off swiftly. The drunken man fell down a long slash wound on his back. Traveler Lackdick left elegantly. Back to the present, the group from the tavern earlier had gathered where the Fierce Tiger Gang stood on high ground. Someone was already standing there. What's going on? Duong Nya was suspicious, touching her chin. All the Fierce Tiger Gang members were killed, so how do others know about the spirit beast? Labao threw one man to the ground and ran over to listen. All right, it's the person who sold the info to the Fierce Tiger Gang. He drank and leaked the information. Duong Nga was puzzled, twisting her messy hair. You're back where's Dai Hung. Boom, something flew down from the sky, near where Duong Nga stood, dust clouding the air. It was the person she just asked about the fourth officer of the armored gang Dai Hung. 3 people stood looking down at the situation below. Duong Nga smiled and said, Yeah, this time everyone is here, but the leaked news is definitely a problem. Looks like there's going to be a fight. Labao thought back to his duel with Diep Tuit Vu, worried, That guy better not show up again. In a nearby forest, the traveler stood silently looking ahead. From the bushes, armed people cautiously approached him. One shouted loudly, Hey kid, you're here looking for the spirit beast too, right? Lackdick ignored him and walked away. Realizing he was being ignored, the man angrily raised his gun at Lackdick and shouted, Hey, I'm talking to you! Lackdick remained silent. The man grinned and asked again, Got it. With this bullet, he fired, then turned, then go die. The bullet flew toward Lackdick. Bang! Lackdick's shadow blurred and vanished like an illusion. The bullet pierced through and hit a tree trunk. The loudmouth man was shocked, sweat streaming down his face. Lackdick had already run up behind him. A knife slashed across both their necks before they could react. Lackdick quickly sheathed his knife, adjusted his hat, and calmly walked away. Behind him, the 2 men collapsed. Lackdick looked around. This way. He set down his backpack, rummaged inside, and pulled out a satellite device. Lackdick placed it face up. Beeping sounds connected as the satellite scanned, creating a circular rotating pattern. Lackdick jumped high as sound waves covered the entire area. The armored gang members moved closer to where the sound waves affected. This is Duong Nya responding spirit beast summoning device. Looks like a master has been drawn here. Labao frowned, worried. Isn't this spirit beast summoning device the favorite toy of the Golden Claw organization? Duong Nya didn't care, full of enthusiasm. It really is Golden Claw. Then this is going to be interesting. Let's head over there. Up above, Diep Tuit Vu clasped his hands behind his back, using his spirit to scan around. He smiled lightly. So many people arriving. The sound waves of the spirit beast summoning device attracted Diep Tuit Vu's attention. Yeah, there's a black shadow on the treetop. Birds are flying wildly in the sky. Where Lackdick sat, a large shadow covered him. A monster appeared. The monster's front paw created a golden magic circle. It slammed down where Lackdick was sitting, shaking the earth and stones flying everywhere. Lackdick jumped up to avoid its attack. He jumped onto a high nearby branch and pulled out his dagger. The spirit beast roared. Its sound waves attacked toward Lackdick. Nearby, the armored gang members were running to chase after. It's the spirit beast. Duong Nga looked up at the branch where Lackdick stood. She realized that he was really one of the Kim Thu Chi members. Lackdick stood silently on the tree branch, lost in thought. Labao below sneered disdainfully. That brat already broke her sword. Looks like the Kim Thu Chi people aren't that formidable after all. With a swoosh, Lackdick vanished into thin air. Labao was confused. Lackdick dashed straight toward the large Tin Thu beast. He raised his broken sword in front of Labao's bewildered eyes. Duong Nga sternly shouted, Idiot! Duong Nga explained that his sword wasn't just broken, it was a super-powerful weapon, a genuine S-rank wielded by an enemy. Lightning crackled throughout the space. Even from thousands of miles away, one could feel the sword's terrifying power. A bolt of lightning shot straight into the sky, causing a fierce shockwave. Labao froze, sweat pouring down, stammering, So strong, really strong. After the fierce attack, Lackdick landed on the ground. The Iron Armor Gang members finally realized his identity. He was one of the 10 fingers of Kim Thu Chi. Traveler Lactic stood above where everyone was gathered. Another group appeared unafraid, daring to eye the prize. "Look, it's a Tin Thu!" They shouted, "Kill it! Take its spirit stone!" Dung-nga's face darkened with anger as she threw out a jar of green powder, releasing a poisonous gas. "Tin Thu is something that shrimp like you could only dream of." The green powder spread everywhere. One of them quickly realized, what's this? Suddenly, the whole group collapsed before understanding what had happened. A blue spider jumped out from their bodies. Dung-nga looked at Lactic and Dai-hung. "Looks like they're not willing to give us the Tin Thu after all." The ground shook once more. Everyone startled, amazed. "What's that?" The Tin Thu they had just defeated rose again, looking even stronger, roaring loudly. Its roar created a terrifying sonic wave. The enemy stretched out both hands, trying to block the dreadful roar. Unbelievable, how could this be? Dung-nga also raised her hands to defend against the Tin Thu, which seemed different from the last time they met. Seeing the situation, Dung-nga suggested, "Hey, Lactic, looks like you can't do much here either. Maybe we should team up to take it down first, then continue fighting." Lactic turned around. His sword no longer emitted blue lightning, but blazed with fire. He stepped forward, adjusting his hat with one hand. Lactic jumped high. Dai-hung also charged energy into his fist. Dung-nga leapt behind her, a pair of shimmering blue butterfly wings appearing. Lactic's sword slashed a streak of fire. Dai-hung's fist struck directly at the Tin Thu. From above, Dung-nga launched countless damp metal needles. The attack caused a fierce shockwave that spread across the area. Labao stood outside, facing a thick cloud of dust. Did we succeed? The people inside stared wide-eyed, unable to believe what they had witnessed, something beyond imagination. Where the Tin Thu had stood was now a heavily damaged, sunken patch of land with no trace of the creature. It ran away, Dung-nga panicked. Quick chase after it. Not far away, Diep Tuit Vu had just landed brushing leaves off his clothes when the Tin Thu lunged from behind to grab him. Diep Tuit Vu lightly touched the Tin Thu's hand, causing it to freeze in confusion. With a loud thud, Diep Tuit Vu's light touch sent the Tin Thu crashing into a rock face. The Tin Thu lay motionless. The rock wall cracked wide open. Diep Tuit Vu stood there, indifferent, holding a leaf. "Huh? A wildcat?" The Tin Thu's crash landing carved out a large groove. Diep Tuit Vu approached. "This is the Tin Thu they were talking about." He touched the creature and withdrew a spirit stone. After the spirit stone was taken, the Tin Thu gradually returned to its original state. Diep Tuit Vu held the spirit stone up to the moonlight. It seemed this stone was what caused the Tin Thu's transformation. While Diep Tuit Vu inspected the stone, a pair of high heels appeared behind him. "So someone dares to steal from our iron armor gang." The group from earlier chased up, each with a different expression. Lactic said, "This is our spirit stone." Dung-nga angrily shouted, "Don't interrupt her." Blackface said again, "Brat spirit stones aren't something just anyone can touch. Hand them over now." Diep Tuit Vu turned around. Labao panicked, pointing at Diep Tuit Vu, stammering, "It's him, the Stormfinger thief! It's him!" Dung-nga's face changed. That's perfect timing. Hand over both the Storm Lake and the Spirit Stones now." Diep Tuit Vu didn't bother to look at her, scratching his ear, uninterested. Dung-nga was so furious she felt fire burning inside, grinding her teeth with rage. Dung-nga pulled out a weapon power, gradually gathering at the muzzle, and fired straight at Diep Tuit Vu. Labao stood nearby, warning, "Be careful, he's very strong." Boom, a loud explosion rang out. Dung-nga smiled smugly. "Yeah, can't handle a single hit, huh?" Startled, she turned her head, face pale, sweat streaming down her cheek. Diep Tuit Vu looked at Dung-nga's weapon curiously and asked, "What is this?" It was the enemy restarting the sword, glancing at Diep Tuit Vu. "Since when was this guy here?" Diep Tuit Vu snatched Dung-nga's weapon with a delighted grin. "Let me borrow this for a bit." Dung-nga was angry but also scared, sweating profusely, unable to move. "Who is this guy?" Behind Diep Tuit Vu, Dai-hung was rushing forward, throwing a punch. Suddenly, a loud explosion went off, rocks and dirt flying everywhere. But behind the fog, Diep Tuit Vu was already waiting. He aimed the weapon he had just taken from Dung-nga and Dai-hung, directly targeting his face. Diep Tuit Vu looked very interested, aiming and thinking to himself, "This must be the spot." Then he pulled the trigger, firing a powerful blast that created a strong wind, sweeping up a thick cloud of dust. After the shot, Diep Tuit Vu quickly jumped onto a nearby high branch to observe the situation. When the dust cleared, the image of wounded Dai-hung was revealed. Still, Dai-hung stood firm, turning his head to search for Diep Tuit Vu. He carried Dung-nga in his arms, eyes full of caution directed at Diep Tuit Vu. Diep Tuit Vu sneered playfully, throwing Dung-nga's weapon away. Well, this thing is pretty weak." As he spoke, his expression suddenly changed. Lac-Dick appeared right in front of him, sword in hand, eyes cold. Lac-Dick swung his sword at Deep Tweet Vu, but unexpectedly a golden shield surrounding Deep Tweet Vu blocked the attack. Deep Tweet Vu glanced at the spirit stone on Lac-Dick's sword hilt, thinking to himself, "Another spirit stone," and suddenly a strange sensation pierced his mind. Without hesitation, Deep Tweet Vu threw a punch straight at Lac-Dick's face. Lac-Dick was knocked back several meters, the sword flying from his hand. Deep Tweet Vu stepped closer to the sword, but suddenly startled and turned his head. A strange energy appeared, and he quickly dodged. It turned out to be Kai Dui, a member of Kim Thu Chi, who had previously stolen the storm hammer. Kai Dui carried a tied-up Ngotran, sneering, "Lac-Dick has never seen you this pathetic." Ngotran looked toward Deep Tweet Vu, tears welling, crying and begging, "Master, please save me. This innkeeper is a bad guy." Deep Tweet Vu laughed, clutching his stomach, pointing at Ngotran. "Ha ha ha, Ngotran! How did you end up captured?" "Too weak!" Ngotran shouted angrily. "Stop laughing and save me now!" Kai Dui sneered threateningly. "Hey, seems like you two don't fully understand the situation, huh?" "It's the enemy." Someone next to him rubbed his neck, warning him he's very strong. "Be careful." Kai Dui carried the storm hammer on his shoulder, holding Ngotran up. "I know. But this little monk is important to you, right?" Deep Tweet Vu suddenly disappeared before Kai Dui's eyes, making him widen them in shock. In an instant, both the storm hammer and Ngotran were in Deep Tweet Vu's hands. Kai Dui gritted his teeth, full of surprise. "Too fast!" Ngotran looked up at Deep Tweet Vu, tears ready to fall, crying, "Master, they have been bullying me." Deep Tweet Vu gently patted Ngotran's head and said, "A disciple of Tweet Duk Temple shouldn't cry so easily." Ngotran obediently nodded and wiped his tears. Kai Dui spoke from behind. "Brother, our Kim Thu Chi doesn't want to fight you, but the spirit stones in your possession were discovered by us first. We hope you'll return them, and we will reward you." Deep Tweet Vu turned to look at them coldly. Duong Nga hurriedly said, "The storm hammer belongs to us, please return it." Deep Tweet Vu smiled lightly. "You guys are quite formidable, but unfortunately, I have a use for this spirit stone and can't give it to you." Kai Dui's tone sounded like he forgot someone. Before Deep Tweet Vu could understand, Ngotran pulled on his shirt anxiously. "Sister Diep Bang is still at the inn." Kai Dui smiled smugly. "This place is at least 5 kilos from the inn. Everyone in the inn is with me. If you don't hand over the spirit stone, you'll never see that girl again." Deep Tweet Vu's eyes hardened, his voice cold. "I hate being threatened the most." Kai Dui held the remote and sneered, "If you don't believe me, you can try. No matter how fast you are at a distance of 5 kilometers, you won't save her in time." Deep Tweet Vu emitted a wave of sound to locate the inn. Inside, Deep Bang was trembling, covering herself with a blanket, facing the bad guys wielding knives. Deep Tweet Vu couldn't see her expression, but knew the black spirit stone could provide supernatural abilities. He smirked, clenched the spirit stone in his palm, then placed it near his chest. The power of the spirit stone spread, enveloping him. He dashed and vanished without a trace just beside Ngotran. Ngotran looked around, wildly confused, searching for Deep Tweet Vu. In just 2 short seconds, Deep Tweet Vu reappeared from the sky, expression cold, holding Deep Bang in his arms. Deep Bang, wrapped in a blanket, didn't understand what was happening. Her face showed confusion with a big question mark. The members of the Iron Armor Gang witnessing this scene looked as if they were struck by lightning. Eyes wide, mouths agape, they couldn't believe it. "Impossible," they exclaimed. In the inn room, the bad guys were knocked out, lying motionless on the floor. Kai Dui angrily pressed the connection device repeatedly. A clicking sound rang out. He looked up, eyes filled with suspicion, ready to teleport instantly. Laodic recalled when he faced the beast containing the Black Spirit Stone and had witnessed similar abilities. It turns out the spirit beast could disappear in the blink of an eye. That was the power of instant teleportation. Kai Dui turned his head and ordered, "Tell Laodich to report to the boss quickly, but we must get this spirit stone at all costs." Laodich nodded, adjusting his cap. Meanwhile, Deep Tweet Vu smiled, holding 2 people in both arms. "All right, I don't have time to play with you," he said, then vanished in the blink of an eye before everyone's eyes. Kai Dui stood under the tree, sweat dripping down his forehead. He bent over, hands on his knees, gritting his teeth, his face darkening. Who is he really? In the dark, on the top of a high-voltage pole, a few birds sat silently. In the glowing red eyes of one bird, the image of a quiet, narrow path appeared from an alley. A frightened girl ran out. The young, beautiful girl wore a uniform with her long hair tied neatly on top. She ran while frequently looking back, her face full of fear. Suddenly, a shadow fell in front of her. She looked ahead in fear, where a young man with a malicious expression blocked her way. The man wore a vest, chest open, licking his lips greedily. "Got you!" His hand grabbed her head and pushed her backward. She screamed desperately, "No, stop!" As the man pinned her down, he had no idea a giant puppet appeared behind him. The puppet raised its fist high, and with one strike threw the man far away, slamming him hard into a wall. The force was so strong, the wall almost collapsed. Dust flew everywhere. From above the wall, a person watching the situation shouted, "Go quickly!" The girl came to her senses, screamed once, then ran away from the scary puppet. The voice belonged to a girl. She waved her hand, releasing several low-energy waves, smiling, "Another decent container. The young master will definitely praise me." The waves she controlled entered the body of the defeated man, turning him into a fabric puppet. The girl sitting on the wall revealed her true form. She was young, wearing a short dress named Kim Thu. She skillfully controlled the red strings with both hands. She kept complaining aloud, "The young master has been gone for hundreds of years. When he returns, I'll definitely scold him to death." At that moment, she cautiously glanced outside the alley. Someone was approaching, pulling down a baseball cap to cover their face. The boss quickly jumped down from the wall and merged with the puppet. The newcomer silently faced the bizarre puppet. He slightly bowed his head, looking up from under the brim as if evaluating. Then he knelt on one knee and saluted. Lao Dich pays respects to the boss. The boss inside the puppet coldly asked, "What is it?" Lao Dich reports, "Boss, the teleportation energy crystal has appeared." The boss smiled with satisfaction after hearing this. "I am in Huaxia City. Rows of the city with houses close together and skyscrapers. Deep Tweet Vu, Diep Bang, and Ngotran stood in front of a grand villa. Deep Bang happily introduced, "We're here. This is my house." Ngotran's eyes widened in surprise. "This house is huge, even bigger than Tuet Duk Temple." Deep Tuet Vu stood behind with a restrained but unmistakable look of amazement as he admired the villa. "Follow me." Deep Bang led the way across a spacious yard with a fountain and carefully maintained lawn. Deep Tuet Vu glanced around to assess the surrounding architecture, silently commenting, "Such a big change. Completely different from 500 years ago." Meanwhile, Ngo Tran was curious about everything, constantly asking, "Is this fun to play with? The flower field is beautiful. A small garden. The smell of grilled meat. A BBQ grill. Inside the house, there's a swimming pool." Suddenly, a man spoke from the corner of the yard. "Diep Bang is back." That was Deep Tien Min, Deep Bang's older brother. He stood by the door with folded arms, assessing Diep Tuet Vu and Ngo Tran. "These two are..." Deep Bang didn't hesitate to reply, "They are guests. I invited them." Deep Tien Ming nodded, "Here to join the exchange event." She nodded, "Yes." Diep Tien Min glanced at the two, noticing no trace of supernatural energy. Ordinary people. He suspiciously looked toward Diep Tuet Vu, who had entered the house and was now evaluating the room filled with shelves of books. Maybe I haven't seen the real nature of the matter. Could this be a type of superpower weapon? Deep Min's gaze stopped on the storm hammer that Ngo Tran was carrying on his back. He observed the three inspecting the house before turning to ask someone ahead, "How's it looking behind the wall that Diep Min is leaning on?" Another man with spiked hair on top and a tall, sturdy build quickly responded to Diep Tien Min, "That is a D-class superpower weapon." Deep Tien Ming immediately ordered Kai Dik, a level 2 superpower user, to investigate their identities. Kai Dik promptly replied, "Understood." Matches between superpower users are extremely varied, from raw strength battles to elemental confrontations, and even sword fights. Deep Bang painted a picture of the matches during the tournament while explaining, "The friendly matches between superpower factions are an annual event held once every 3 years in Huaxia country. In the friendly matches, factions that achieve high rankings gain more resources and power for the next 3 years." Deep Tuet Vu understood Deep Bang's meaning immediately. He calmly confirmed with her, "So you want me to participate in this friendly tournament?" Meanwhile, Ngo Tran sat beside them, still absorbed in exploring his hammer. Deep Bang quickly confirmed and explained more clearly, "Yes, because my family is a superpower clan, also considered a superpower faction. The rule this year allows each participant to bring one additional external member." Deep Tuet Vu remained silent with crossed arms, neither agreeing nor refusing, only asked back, "You mean all superpower factions nationwide will participate? What about the cultivation sects?" Deep Bang was slightly embarrassed, but still explained, "I've heard my grandfather mention cultivation sects before. Some ancient martial arts sects are very powerful, but I've never seen them in reality. Deep Tweet Vu listened, resting his chin on his hand, frowning thoughtfully. Could it be that after what happened that year they all disappeared? Huh? Deep Bang didn't know his thoughts and cheerfully offered a tempting condition. That's right, if you agree to participate, I'll pay you well. She even pointed to the shelf full of Coca-Cola. Besides the payment, you can have all the coca you want. Both master and apprentice pictured a carefree life drinking coca without hesitation, and immediately agreed. Okay, I agree. Deep Bang joyfully jumped up and hugged Deep Tweet Vu. That's great. Deep Bang happily jumped to hug Deep Tweet Vu. That's great. At the same time, in Diep Tin Min's room, he was seriously sitting and writing something. Kai Dik stepped in from outside to announce Dad got it. Those two are actually people from the ancient martial arts sect. Deep Tin Ming stopped writing after hearing that, not very convinced, and coldly snorted. An ancient martial arts sect. In this day and age, are there still people from ancient martial arts sects tricking others? Kai Dik continued. And that superpowered weapon must belong to the Iron Armor Gang, not sure how it ended up in their hands. Deep Tin Ming frowned and ordered, go test their strength, don't let them deceive Bang Yi. As night fell, the large Diep family villa was lit up by wall lamps. Inside, Deep Bang wore a simple short dress holding a bundle of spiritual herbs, knocking on Deep Tweet's door. When he opened the door, she held out the herbs, slightly embarrassed, saying, I could only find these, not sure if they'll help. Deep Tweet examined the herbs. Ice Spirit Herb and Azure Spirit Herb. Just ordinary spiritual herbs, huh? Seeing Diep Tweet showed no expression. Diep Bang worriedly said, if they don't work, I'll go to the auction house to help you find some. It's okay, just use these for now. Deep Tweet Vu slammed the door right in front of Deep Bang. She clenched her fists in frustration, softly growling, at least your little brother should say thank you. Deep Tweet Vu held the herbs in one hand and pulled a cloth bag out from his person with the other as he entered the room. Ngotron saw this and asked Master, what is this? Deep Tweet Vu arrogantly lifted the cloth bag. This is a talisman bag. It contains many items inside. Ngotron, happy but only thinking about soda, rushed forward and asked, I get it. You want to put all the soda in there. Immediately, he got hit by a cup holding his head with tears welling up. Deep Tweet Vu instructed, I still have to practice alchemy, watch carefully. This is a must-learn technique in cultivation. Saying that, he rubbed the talisman bag. A wisp of smoke escaped and gathered on the ground. To Ngotron's astonished eyes, a faint shape of an alchemy furnace appeared from the mist. But when the smoke cleared, Ngotron was shocked to see a very battered and tattered furnace standing before them. Ngotron couldn't believe it, pointing at the old furnace, and asked, Master, can you really practice alchemy with this? Deep Tweet Vu covered his mouth with his hand, avoiding eye contact. Somewhat making excuses, it hasn't been used for 500 years. I didn't expect it to be this old, but oh well, just use it for now. He dropped the herbs inside the furnace, waved his hand to draw a line of fire, igniting the space inside the furnace and starting the alchemy process. Outside the window, Kai Dik sat on a protruding tree branch, watching the situation inside the room with confusion. He suspiciously guessed it can't be that they want to practice alchemy like those self-proclaimed ancient martial sect guys, right? Inside the room, Deep Tweet Vu proudly informed Ngotron, almost done, kid. Looking at him with reverence, Diep Tweet Vu lightly waved his hand and thick black smoke billowed out from the furnace. Suddenly, a loud explosion shook the space. While Diep Tweet Vu stood calmly, the furnace shattered, smoke and flames bursting everywhere. The explosion startled Ngotron, who was engulfed by dust and embers. He shouted at Diep Tweet Vu, Master, you exploded again. Outside, Kai Dik stood on the high branch, coldly observing the scene inside. He smirked slightly and said, looks like I don't need to step in and investigate anymore. Then he smoothly jumped down, hands in pockets, turning away while concluding the miss they're looking for is a total loser. Inside, the dust gradually settled. Deep Tweet Vu stood calmly brushing his shoulders off while Ngotron still trembled, sitting on the floor. Deep Tweet Vu looked at the blue and yellow pills in his hand and nodded slightly. 2 Ju Yan pills. 2 Fu Ling pills. Not bad. No waste of medicinal materials. He glanced at the ruined furnace debris, sighed softly. It's just a pity the furnace is too old. The finest furnaces back then have been soaked by rain for too long. If I'd known, I should have kept one. Meanwhile, Kai Dik had returned to Diep Tin Min's room to report sneering, as he said to Diep Tin Min, who was working the miss they're looking for, is a total loser. He only knows how to practice alchemy poorly, and even blew up the living room. Deep Tin Ming nodded coldly, his eyes full of anger. If that's the case, get rid of him. The next day, at the large Diep family mansion, Deep Bang just woke up covering her mouth to yawn, her eyes still dreamy. Deep Tin Ming approached from afar with a light smile and announced, Bang Yi Grandpa is calling you over. Deep Bang was slightly surprised, but not suspicious, nodding. Now, wait for you to change first. She quickly changed into her usual uniform, pulled on her shoes, and before leaving, she turned back to say goodbye. Deep Tianming sat on the sofa. Brother, your 2 guests will wake up later. Please entertain them. Deep Tianming nodded. Got it. Deep Bang closed the door and left, leaving Deep Tianmin sitting quietly on the sofa. Kaidik appeared behind Deep Tianmin, reminding, Miss, if you chase those 2 away, she will probably make a fuss, right? Deep Tianming didn't care much, holding his phone to check the tournament list calmly, saying, Doesn't matter, this tournament entry list can't be wasted on those shady rogues. Kaidich smiled smugly. Understood. Meanwhile, Diep Tuet Vu was sitting cross-legged on the roof of the mansion, practicing opening his eyes, sensing the spiritual energy in the earth and sky, frowning slightly. The spiritual energy is much less than before. What is going on? Inside the room. Go Tran was doing push-ups, sweating profusely. Deep Tweet Vu suddenly appeared before him. Go Tran stopped, stood up, wiped sweat from his forehead, and asked, Master, where have you been? Deep Tweet Vu briefly replied, training. Go Tran's eyes lit up excitedly and asked, Master, when will you teach me to train? Deep Tweet Vu was a little embarrassed. Beat the drum, Go Tran, take me somewhere. Go Tran immediately summoned the Stormhammer. The 2 master and disciple stepped out of the room together. After a few steps, a fragrant aroma made them stop near the dining table by the window, where delicious breakfast dishes were still steaming hot. Deep Tianming and Kaidik were sitting there enjoying breakfast. Ngo Tran looked at the food with a hungry gaze. Deep Tweet Vu greeted, Good morning, but Deep Tianmin ignored him, continuing to drink tea. Ngo Tran ran to the table to take some bread, but a pair of chopsticks flew from elsewhere, aiming to hit his hand. Deep Tweet Vu quickly stopped it calmly, saying, Sorry, I'll get you another pair. Deep Tianmin coldly said, I don't think I told you two that there's no place for you here. Diep Tweet Vu didn't argue, turning to Ngo Tran. Ngo Tran, they don't want us to eat, so give it back to them. Ngo Tran sadly nodded and spit out the bread he was holding in his mouth. Deep Tianming looked at the bread saliva trickling, almost spitting out his tea. Deep Tweet Vu arrogantly turned and left. All right, Ngo Tran, it seems they don't welcome us. Kaidik was so angered by Deep Tweet Vu's contemptuous attitude that his hands trembled, his eyes full of hatred, watching the two casually walk out of the room. Unable to contain himself, he slammed the table, stood up, and roared furiously, I will go kill them! Deep Tianming immediately lowered his voice to stop him. Wait. Outside, Diep Tweet Vu and Ngo Tran had already left the mansion. Ngo Tran was still puzzled by his master's attitude, looking up and asking, Master, are they bullying us? Why don't you teach them a lesson? Diep Tweet Vu stretched comfortably and looked down from above with a smile, explaining, Ngo Tran, remember those who don't threaten us don't need our attention. Unless... Ngo Tran suddenly jumped up, sitting on Deep Tweet Vu's shoulder, affectionately rubbing his face and asking, Unless what? Deep Tweet Vu just smiled and finished, Unless I'm unhappy. Ngo Tran frowned, crossed his arms, puffed his cheeks, not fully understanding but letting it go. Where are we going now? Deep Tweet Vu looked up at the deep blue sky and answered, To find my flying sword. The two master and disciple walked and talked. Ngo Tran asked, What about Sister Diep Bang? Deep Tweet Vu calmly replied, I'll explain to her later. Meanwhile, inside the mansion, Kaidik was still angrily asking Diep Tianmin, Why didn't you kill them? Deep Tianming did not rush to answer, silently took the plate of bread smeared with Ngo Tran's saliva, threw both the plate and the bread into the trash, then calmly crossed his legs and reassured Kaidik, Don't be impatient. We have more important matters to attend to now. Kaidik nodded and asked, Have you made a choice for the young lady's external aid list yet? Deep Tianming took a sip of tea and asked back, Have you heard of the Golden Claw organization? Kaidik frowned slowly, recalling, I've heard rumors that their main goal is to collect spirit stones. The organization has 10 members, all extremely powerful ability users. Diep Tianmin nodded. That's right. Even the weakest among them has a 3rd-level ability user strength. Kaidik probed, Did you invite them to help us join the tournament? Deep Tianming confirmed. Exactly, this organization is different from other superpowered forces. They are only interested in spirit stones and do not participate in friendly tournaments. We'll meet them then. Meanwhile, Diep Tweet Vu and Ngo Tran stood before a large gate above which hung a red banner advertising the headquarters of Unmatched Sword Rooster. The mascot chicken was a golden chibi rooster wearing a red cloak holding a sword raised high. Ngotran innocently pointed at the chicken and asked, "Master, is this your flying sword?" Deep Tweet Vu shook his head. "Fool, of course not." Ngotran sighed and asked, "Then why did you bring me here?" Deep Tweet Vu looked around and explained, "Qianlu Walking Street over 500 years ago. This was the Wujian sect I founded, but I suspect they are no longer here." Ngotran was helpless. "Isn't that obvious?" Then suddenly remembering the kid, he pointed up in surprise. "Wait, aren't you the ancestor master of Tuyet Duk Temple?" Deep Tweet Vu said calmly, "Tuyet Duk Temple is just one of the many sects I founded." Ngotran immediately changed his tone to excited and asked, "So where did they all go?" Deep Tweet Vu answered slowly, "Many years ago. I don't know where they went. We'll have to look around." He stood amidst the bustling street feeling lost in the lively scene. Looking around, everything had changed so much it reminded him of old friends from long ago. He wondered how they were now, whether Vu Lok and Dao Dao were still alive. While lost in thought, suddenly, a blonde girl with a high ponytail approached happily offering, "Dear customers, our shop just launched a new flavor of fried chicken. Please try some." The master and disciple both looked at the girl standing in front of the shop. The sword rooster mascot, dressed like a waitress, holding a plate of fragrant fried chicken, continuing to invite, "Please try it," wink. She introduced, "We currently have a buy one, get one free promotion, only 20 yuan for 2 large portions of fried chicken." Diep Tuet Vu felt like he was struck by lightning, snapping out of his craving, and quietly asked Ngotran, "Do you have any money?" The kid shook his head and crossed his arms, indicating he didn't have a penny. Deep Tweet Vu rubbed his forehead and sighed, thinking, "Looks like I need to find a way to make money." Without hesitation, he grabbed Ngotran by the collar and dragged him away, ignoring the kid's protests and the surprised look of the chicken seller. The master and disciple walked along the street, eyes following the couples happily enjoying their food. Finally, Deep Tweet Vu couldn't hold back and called out to Ngotran, walking ahead, looking at the hammer on the kid's back, and asked bluntly, "That hammer of yours must be worth a lot, right?" Ngotran immediately understood, clutching the hammer protectively. "No, this is mine. I'm not selling it." Diep Tweet Vu didn't push, scanning around for ways to make money, suddenly spotting an old man selling antiques. An idea suddenly sparked, and he clapped his hands and shouted, "Got it!" An old wooden sign with the words, "Selling Supreme Elixirs," quickly appeared. The master and disciple sat by the roadside. In front of them were several elixirs they had just brewed yesterday. Ngotran suspiciously asked his master, "Do you think anyone will buy them?" Deep Tweet Vu confidently replied, "Back in the day, my elixirs were famous throughout the cultivation world. Sects competed to buy them, but times have changed." An hour passed. Ngotran yawned repeatedly. 3 hours later, the kid had dozed off. 5 hours later, Diep Tuet Vu also took the opportunity to meditate. The old antique seller passed by and advised, "Kid, no one will buy your scam stuff." Diep Tweet Vu frowned. "This is not a scam." The old man shook his head and walked away. While Ngotran was drawing circles on the ground out of boredom, a gentle voice sounded, "Excuse me?" A pretty girl named YK Ni appeared and politely asked, "May I see your elixirs?" Deep Tweet Vu happily handed over a Junyan Dan pill and introduced, "This is the Junnan Dan, which maintains a golden appearance for 15 years. Ikeni held it up, amazed by the dense spiritual energy in the pill. She suggested they follow her. "I know a place where you can sell these elixirs." Meanwhile, at Deep Thien Lee's house in the forest, Deep Bang had just arrived home. She called out loudly, "Grandpa!" Diep Thien Lee stepped out from the house cheerfully, asking, "Bang Ni, you're back. Has the master you mentioned been invited yet?" Diep Bang recounted, "The old monk couldn't be invited, but someone called the Patriarch is currently at our house." Diep Thien Lee was startled. "The Patriarch of Ngo Vian. Quickly take him to meet him. That's a true immortal cultivator." Deep Bang was also surprised and curiously asked him, "An immortal cultivator? Grandpa, do immortal cultivators really exist in this world? Didn't everyone say that ancient martial arts sects can't stand against superpowers? Are all immortal cultivators just frauds?" Deep Thien Lee gradually regained composure, holding on to the armrest of the chair for balance after feeling dizzy from standing up too quickly. He calmly explained to Diep Bang, "The ancient martial arts sects you mentioned are actually immortal cultivation sects. In the past, they were very mysterious, but I have met true immortal cultivators. They are not frauds. Quickly take me to meet the Patriarch." Diep Bang gently approached, supporting her grandfather to comfort him. Don't worry, Grandpa, they are at our house. Meanwhile, Diep Tuit Vu followed Ike Nhi to a large gate with an ancient style. Above a splendid signboard read Void Trading Market. Ike Nhi walked ahead, then turned back to explain, "This is the largest exotic goods trading market in the city." Diep Tuit Vu tilted his head slightly, repeating, "Exotic goods." Images of strange items flashed in his mind: skulls, vacuum toy devices, charms, and buffalo skulls with massive horns. Ike Nhi seemed to guess his thoughts and hurriedly explained, "Simply put, this is where they trade things ordinary people cannot possess. Most of the items here are related to pseudo-superpowers." The two walked along the wide, brick-paved street flanked by buildings with classical architecture. Ike Nhi glanced at Diep Tuit Vu suspiciously. "But you don't seem like a pseudo-superpowered person." He smiled slightly in response. "I'm just like you." Ike Nhi suddenly covered her mouth and asked, "Could it be that you are also a cultivator?" She smiled softly, thinking to herself, "Looks like I've met a senior. I have to seize this opportunity. If I can learn a few powerful spells, that would be great." Diep Tuit Vu turned to look at Ike Nhi, happily walking behind him, her face radiant like blooming flowers. Ngotran walked beside him, looking up at him with a shy expression. Ike Nhi suddenly noticed the hammer on Ngotran's back and pointed, asking, "Senior, is this a superpower weapon?" Diep Tuit Vu nodded in confirmation. "Yes, it is." Ike Nhi gently reminded, "This market has a mix of people coming and going, many with superpowers. It's best to put away your superpower weapon so no one notices." Diep Tuit Vu found the advice reasonable, took out his artifact bag, and smiled at Ngotran. "Ngotran, give me the hammer, I'll store it for you." Ike Nhi's eyes lit up with amazement, exclaiming, "Senior, you even have an artifact bag." "My master said it's a treasure only powerful immortal cultivators possess." Ngotran obediently handed the hammer to Diep Tuit Vu, but still showed a bit of regret. "But I want to wear it." Ike Nhi stood beside him and gently explained, "Don't you two know that top-level weapons can be stored inside the artifact bag?" Both master and student looked at her with puzzled eyes. Ike Nhi sat down, took the hammer from Ngotran, placed her hand on the hammer's head, and an electromagnetic energy spread through the hammer from where she touched. In an instant, the hammer shrank into a large, battery-sized object. Ngotran's eyes sparkled as he exclaimed, "So cool!" Ike Nhi handed the transformed hammer back to Ngotran, advising him that when using it, just press hard on the artifact bag. Diep Tuit Vu looked at the miniaturized hammer in Ngotran's hand and sighed inwardly. 500 years have passed. Everything has changed so much. Ike Nhi led them to a tall building, its entrance built with two curved roofs, mimicking the old city gate architecture. Ike Nhi introduced them. "Senior, this is the largest trading market. You can try selling your alchemy pills here." In front of the gate, a long table was set up as if to receive guests. Behind the table, a man lay back on a chair, absorbed in playing on his phone. While Ike Nhi was excitedly encouraging Diep Tuit Vu about selling his alchemy pills for a high price, suddenly a gruff voice cut through their conversation. "Wait!" The man, who was lying back now, sat up, blocking the entrance, still staring at his phone as he asked in a rough tone, "What are you doing?" But Ike Nhi didn't pay much attention to his attitude, still maintaining a polite and calm tone, replying, "We want to participate in the auction. Please lead us the way." The young man glanced at her suspiciously, repeating, "You want to sell stuff?" Ike Nhi calmly stood in front of Diep Tuit Vu and explained, "Yes, we have a few pills we want to sell." The young man looked at her suspiciously, asked about the pills, then flashed an unfriendly smile and demanded, "Let me see them first." "This is a high-end auction house, not just any junk you can bring to sell." Ike Nhi detected the contempt in his words and immediately frowned, asking back, "Why do you say that?" Well, the young man extended his hand toward her, firmly repeating, "If you don't show me the items, I won't let you in here. That's the rule here." Although angry at his disrespectful attitude, Ike Nhi still patiently handed over a Chunan Dan pill. The young man took the pill silently to examine it, but then disdainfully flicked it away, exclaiming, "What nonsense is this?" That outrageous action made Ike Nhi furious. She lowered her voice, "On Diep Tuit Vu?" Without any movement from behind, he only reached out to catch the pill that was flicked away, picked his ear, and with a condescending tone remarked, "Really don't know how to pick quality goods." The young man immediately lost his temper and shouted, "What did you say?" But Diep Tuit Vu ignored him and glanced back. A luxury car stopped in front of the auction market. A man dressed in traditional clothes with long hair neatly tied up, wearing glasses, holding a white fan, lightly fanning himself, exuding elegance and sophistication. That was Tran Kai Kai, the eldest son of the Tran family. Tran Kai-ki saw the tense situation between Yi Kei-ni and the young man frowned and asked, "What's going on?" And the young man quickly tattled, "Ankai, you arrived just in time. These people want to auction off pills." Hearing this, Tran Kai-ki scolded, "Tran Kao! How many times have I told you? Guests must be treated properly." Then he turned to Yi Kei-ni and smiled. "Sorry, please excuse my subordinate's ignorance. Please follow me inside. My subordinate doesn't understand. Please come with me." Tran Ko still wouldn't give in even to Tran Kai-ki, but Ankai clearly knew they were frauds. Tran Kai-ki said nothing, only gestured to stop Tran Kao's complaints, his eyes still fixed on the group. Yi Kei-ni was following Tran Kai-ki inside, but suddenly turned back and stuck out her tongue to tease him. Tran Ko was angry, but had to let it go. Inside the auction hall, Yi Kei-ni, Diep Tuit Vu, and Go Tran were invited by Tran Kai-ki to sit on the sofa in the waiting lounge. "This is our reception lounge, you can rest here." He kept his polite smile, fanning himself, and said courteously, "The auction items will soon be handled by a specialist. I have other matters to attend to, so I won't be able to stay. Please make yourselves comfortable." When he was about to leave, Yi Kei-ni suddenly called out, "Mr. Tran, please wait a moment." Tran Kai-ki looked at her and smiled kindly. Does this young lady have something else to say?" Yi Kei-ni looked up and made her request, "We want to auction these pills. Won't you take a look?" "Yeah, maybe you'll need them too," Tran Kai-ki asked with interest. You two want to sell as well. Let me see." Yi Kei-ni held out a Chunyan Dawn pill. "Please take a look first." Tran Kai-ki carefully examined the pill. Yi Kei-ni was about to introduce its effects, but he quickly interrupted, "No need. The scent is not bad, but I don't need this pill for now." He handed the pill back and encouraged, "Later my staff will come to handle the auction. If anyone needs it, of course they will buy it." Saying that, he decisively left. Yi Kei-ni sat back helplessly on the sofa, explaining to Senior Diep Tuit Vu that there are very few cultivators now and few understand pills. "I'm afraid it won't be easy to sell at auction." After a moment of silence, the girl's gaze turned back to Diep Tuet Vu, who sat cross-legged beside her, gently encouraging him. "If the effects you mentioned are real, I'm sure many would be willing to buy." But then she suddenly felt a headache, propping her chin with her hand, and sighing deeply in frustration, wondering how to make everyone believe in its true effectiveness. Diep Tuit Vu nodded in agreement, stroking his chin thoughtfully with her. "You're right. Let me think about it." Just then, a middle-aged female employee wearing a turquoise cheongsam walked in politely and greeted, "Hello, everyone. Do you have any items you want to sell?" Diep Tuit Vu saw this woman and suddenly felt delighted. An idea flashed. "There's a way." At the same time, in another room, Tran Kai-ki entered with a smiling face, greeting the person sitting inside. "Mr. Deep, you finally came. I've invited you many times, and now I succeeded." Inside the room, Deep Thin Min was sitting cross-legged on a sofa. Leisurely sipping tea next to him was Kai Dik, who was always alertly watching outside. On the tea table in front of them was a complete tea set. Deep Tien Ming smiled in response. "Mr. Tran, you're joking. How could I miss your auction club?" Tran Kai-ki sat down on the sofa opposite, smiling warmly. "You see, it's only the new auction club that could invite you. Normally, we should meet more often." Deep Tien Ming didn't want to prolong it quickly, getting to the main point. "The upcoming tournament is about to start. Everyone's busy. There's no time to gather. Mr. Tran, you should tell me what's special about this auction." Tran Kai-ki poured himself a cup of tea, skillfully dodging, saying there are many good items this time. Specifically, what? Just wait for the auction to start and see for yourself. Deep Tien Ming didn't let it go easily, lifting his teacup and asking directly, "I heard there's a spirit stone." Tran Kai-ki took a sip of tea and replied frankly, "Your intelligence is impressive, Deep. To be honest, there really is one." Deep Tien Ming looked at Tran Kai-ki with a polite gaze. "Your business connections truly make me admire you." Finally, he had the confirmation he needed. Deep Tien Ming stood up to say goodbye. The auction is about to begin. I'm heading to the hall. Tran Kai-ki didn't stop him, cheerfully replying in such a hurry. "All right, then." Then he clapped his hands, calling someone from outside, ordering them to escort Diep to the hall. The person called was a pretty female office worker in a fitted dress. She smiled politely and said, "Please follow me this way, both of you." The two followed her out of the room. Just at the door, Kai Ditch quietly said to Diep Tien Min, "Young master, you go ahead. I'm going to the restroom first." Deep Tien Ming didn't suspect anything, nodding, "Go ahead." Afterwards, Tran Kai-ki remained seated in the room waiting. When he heard a knock on the door, he said, "Please come in." The person entering was Kai Ditch. He knelt on one knee and salute subordinate pays respects to the young master. Tran Kai-ki accepted the salute, ordered him to sit, lifted his teacup, and asked, "What's up?" Speak up. What has Deep Tien Min been planning lately? Kai Dick didn't hide anything and recounted Deep Tien Min's plan. He wants to invite people from Kim Thu Chi to assist the Deep family in joining the friendly tournament. Tran Kai Ki wasn't surprised, calmly sipping tea. Kim Thu Chi, I know about that. The auction hall was a vast space lavishly decorated with spotlights and huge screens. On the high stage, rows of seats were neatly arranged, showing the grand scale of the event. Ngotran couldn't help but exclaim, "Wow, this place is fancy!" Deep Tweet Vu, Ye Kei Ni, and Ngotran were seated in the participant section. Ye Kei Ni excitedly introduced Senior, "This auction has many good items. You can see if there's anything you need to buy." Ngotran innocently interrupted, "Sis, we don't have money. Even the Grandmaster can't afford fried chicken." Deep Tweet Vu gently tapped Ngotran's head and said, "That's enough." This action made Ye Kei Ni smile broadly. In the front row, when Kai Ditch returned beside Diep Tien Min, a pair of legs wearing green high heels also appeared on the auction stage. The host who just appeared was an auctioneer named La Han, a beautiful woman wearing a delicately designed green evening gown. Under the bright lights, she warmly greeted all the guests present in the auction hall. "Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to our 87th Tin Kong auction." Two familiar figures entered: the third officer of the Blue Spider Armored Gang A, and the fourth officer, Trong Quyen Thu, called Bao. They chose seats at the back row of the auction. Duong Nga heard rumors that a spirit stone would be auctioned this time, so she brought La Bao along to see if they could snatch it. If they couldn't get it back, Fong Bao's boss definitely wouldn't forgive them. La Bao, his arm still in a cast, told Duong Nga, "You've seen his strength. He's completely powerless. Please say a few words to the boss for me." Duong Nga nodded, but his identity also needed to be clarified quickly. La Bao scratched his head, thinking he was still being used a real monster. Currently, the teleportation spirit stone was already in his hands. Using force to snatch Fong Bao back was just impossible. Duong Nga thought such a teleportation spirit stone's power would definitely attract attention quickly. The host interrupted, "I hereby declare the 87th Spirit Stone auction officially started." Duong Nga turned to La Bao, "Stop thinking, just join the auction first." Eldest young master Tran Kai Ki approached Diep Bang's older brother. Diep Tien Min couldn't help but praise daring to auction off this spirit stone. Probably only Tran in Hang City would do that. Tran Kai Ki opened the fan in his hand, looking very elegant. "Brother Diep is joking. It's just a purple spirit stone, nothing you can't spend several years to get." The frequency of spirit beasts appearing is increasing. From what I see, spirit stones will become more and more abundant. Then he whispered softly into Deep Tien Min's ear. "Deep, you guys have hidden quite a few treasures, right?" After saying that, he laughed and returned to his seat. Could he be intending to covet the Deep family's treasures? La Han began with the first auction item, the rejuvenation pill. In her hand, she held a vial containing 2 elixirs made by Diep Tuet Vu. Deep Tien Min scoffed. "Tran, the young master of your high-end auction house, is selling this scam." Tran Kai Ki wasn't angry. He just said, "It's just an appetizer." "Don't rush, young master Diep. There are better items coming." Kei Ni said to Diep Tuet Vu, "I heard this auction only gets better as it goes on. They already consider our elixirs the lowest quality. You don't care because soon they'll regret it." Dung Nga, sitting behind, looked disdainful. La Han read the introduction of the elixir. The effect of the rejuvenation pill can instantly restore a person's prime appearance and maintain it for 15 minutes. Deep Tien Min laughed loudly at Tran Kai Ki. "Your auction house is getting worse. Now you're just bragging nonsense." Tran Kai Ki waved to call someone over. He ordered his subordinate to tell La Han to stop. Standing on stage, La Han also doubted whether the introduction was false. A female staff member came to her and whispered in her ear. Then Tran Kai Ki's subordinate also came to notify her. Shortly after, La Han continued the auction. She was also seeing this elixir for the first time and thought everyone would certainly doubt the miraculous effect described. Her boss, Mr. Tran, was also worried this would deceive people, so he requested the auction of this item to be stopped. An impatient audience member shouted from below, "What else do you have to say? Hurry up and bring out the next item. This is clearly a scam." La Han raised the vial of elixirs and continued. "However, we received a message from a mysterious seller. He agreed to let everyone see the effect by using 1 elixir." Tran Kai Ki mouthed to La Han, asking what was going on. Then a middle-aged woman stepped onto the stage. La Han handed her an elixir. In front of the whole hall, the woman swallowed the elixir. In an instant, the wrinkles on her skin smoothed out. When she opened her eyes again, she looked like a woman in her 20s. The entire hall, including Diep Tien Min, Tran Kai Ki, Dung Nga, and La Bao, were all amazed. Does something like this really exist in the world? La Han was no exception. Could this really be true? The woman who just tried it looked at herself in the mirror. She was almost stunned to tears. Kei looked at the man sitting beside her. He looked lazy. Although he had guessed seeing the effect with his own eyes was still surprising, Lahun continued her work. The rejuvenation pill's effect is truly amazing. Starting price is 500,000. Immediately, Diep Thien Min raised the bid to 1,000,000. An old man raised his paddle and bid 2,000,000. Jung Nga excitedly said, "Is there really such a powerful elixir? I have to join this race too, 1,000." Others couldn't afford to miss this bargain. The bid for the elixir continued to rise to 2.5 million. The Deep family's eldest young master raised the bid again to 3,000,000. Tran Kai Ki looked up at the stage. The elixir was being fought over by the entire hall. The effect was truly astonishing. When he saw that girl present the elixir, he should have bought it immediately. Now it was too late to regret. Tran Kai Ki suddenly remembered the seller. He looked around searching and saw the person still standing there. But when he realized that both Dung Nga and Diep Thien Min were bidding, he felt somewhat reassured. Dung Nga was determined not to give up. She raised the bid to 4,000,000. Diep Thien Min also refused to lose. He continued to push the bid to 5,000,000. Tran Kai Ki observed Diep Thien Min competing for the item on the auction floor. If he snatched the elixir now, it would be too obvious. So he decided to wait until the auction ended to ask if they had any other elixirs. Then he secretly took out his phone and sent a message. He thought of a way to keep the elixir seller from leaving. "We must wait until the auction ends before approaching them." The screen displays the pill priced at 5,000,000. The purchase code is 002. The host shouts, 5,000,000 times 1 5,000,000 times 2. Duong Nga is angry and finds Diep Thien Min really annoying for competing with her. 5,000,000 times 3 sold. The hammer strikes down. The buyer is confirmed. "Congratulations, Mr. Deep." Diep Thien Min asks Tran Kai Ki about the origin of the pill. Although the auction house keeps buyer information confidential, Diep Thien Min spoke up. "Can you answer? I got this pill by accident. It wasn't brought by any customer." Diep Thien Min sneered at him, thinking silently he's truly a seasoned player. At this time, Diep Bang returned home with her grandfather. She helped him sit down and told him to rest for a while in the living room. Then she went to call Diep Thien Vu and Ngotran. She asked the servant if her 2 guests had eaten breakfast. But the servant replied they had already left. "What? Why did they leave? Where did they go?" The servant hesitated and didn't dare to say. Diep Bang was anxious to know. The servant bowed and explained, "The young master was upset with them and told them to leave." Diep Bang couldn't believe it. How could that happen? The auction continued. The second item was the Hong Lian Bang Tam Hua. This flower has a strong detoxifying effect. It's considered an excellent spiritual herb. The starting price is 200,000. This flower resembles a lotus. The outer petals are pink, but inside it blooms with ice flowers. That's why it's called Hong Lian Bang Tam Hua. This item caught Diep Thien Vu's attention. Kei said, "If you want to buy this flower, you can use the 5,000,000 from the pill you just sold, because all transactions will be settled after the auction ends." Diep Thien Vu immediately bid 1,000,000. Kei couldn't stop him, just shook her head and sighed. That's exactly Master Toe's style. Everyone turned to see who bid so high, even Labao looked over. Kei complained, "You didn't have to raise it by so much, just 100,000 would have been enough. Not many people buy this flower, but since it's a third-grade spiritual herb, I think it's worth that price." Seeing Diep Thien Vu tense, Labao reported to Duong Nga, who also turned to watch. After verifying the info, Duong Nga ordered Labao to inform Lao Dai and the Kim Thu Chi people. "No need to search, they came to us. This time you will definitely catch him." Labao pulled out his phone to call but couldn't reach Kim Thu Chi's group. Duong Nga thought he was foolish and told them to monitor Diep Thien Vu first. Wait until the auction ends, then spread news that the teleportation spirit stone appeared in the city. Since Kim Thu Chi's people frantically chase spirit stones, they wouldn't miss this chance. Lahan shouted 1,000,000 times 3 sold, congratulating this gentleman on buying the Hong Lian Bang Tam Hua. Diep Thien Vu was very satisfied that no one stole from him. Kei muttered, "He raised the price to 1,000,000. Usually someone would snatch it, that's strange." She advised him to save money because refining pills surely wouldn't be easy. Diep Thien Vu thought about the refining process. It was indeed difficult, even causing his old pill furnace to explode. Kei agreed. "That's why you must use saved money. That herb only costs 500,000. Diep Thien Min noticed Diep Thien Vu was also here, but why was he here? He asked Tran Kai Ki if he was friends with him, but Tran Kai Ki denied knowing them. Deep Tien Ming naturally asked, "Then do you know that person?" Yet Deep Tien Ming called Deep Tien Vu a fraud from the ancient martial sect. Tran Kai Ki laughed inwardly but said, "Looks like the auction house needs to strengthen participant screening," while silently cursing Diep Tien Min as ignorant, not knowing that the fraud he mentioned was actually a grandmaster refiner who created the pill he just bought. Deep Tien Ming suddenly remembered, "Wasn't the pill just now Deep Tien Vu's? But that can't be. Kai Ditch said Diep Tien Vu's refining exploded the whole room. It couldn't have been him." The auction continued most items related to supernatural abilities. After buying the Hong Lian Bang Tam Hua, Diep Tien Vu didn't buy anything else. Lahan brought out the final item, pulled back the curtain. And it was indeed. The purple spirit stone in the glass case, was a diamond-shaped spirit stone. Duong Nga had been waiting for it for a long time, and now it finally appeared. Deep Tien Vu is becoming increasingly suspicious of it. Through Lahan's introduction, the purple spirit stone can be crafted into a superpowered weapon. After a simple test, the energy in this spirit stone is still very abundant, with a starting price of 20,000, a number that felt like a mountain crushing down on Deep Tien Vu. He didn't expect it to be that expensive and quickly withdrew his hand holding the board. He Nhi then began to explain a bit more to Diep Tien Vu about spirit stones. The market value of purple spirit stones ranges from 30 to 50 million VND. Although purple spirit stones vary in quality, there is no clear hierarchy. The ability to craft them into weapons largely depends on the skill of the craftsman. If forged into an S-grade superpowered weapon, its value could increase many times, while even the weakest D-grade superpowered weapon is worth more than a raw purple spirit stone. At this moment, Diep Tien Vu's eyes showed ill intent as he looked toward the hammer Ngo Tran was holding. The boy sensed this too and instinctively turned to hide the item. Meanwhile, the crowd was fiercely bidding on the spirit stone. Duong Nga pushed the price to 25,000, and others continued raising it to 30,000. Deep Tien Ming, with a bold style, shouted out a price of 50,000. Duong Nga was furious. She looked like a hedgehog bristling as she stared at young Master Diep, who had repeatedly snatched opportunities from her on stage. Lahan spoke up to the auction hall, 50,000. "This gentleman has bid 50,000. Is there anyone else who wants to offer higher?" Labao was worried and didn't know what to do. Duong Nga gave up because exceeding 50,000 would yield no profit. However, this auction was not entirely useless, as they found someone their boss would be very pleased with. With no other competitors, Lahan finalized the price at 50,000 and congratulated Mr. Deep on purchasing the spirit stone. After the auction ended, the staff handed Diep Tien Vu a check. His elixirs sold for 5,000. After deducting a 3% selling fee and 1,000 for buying the Hong Lian Ice Heart flower, he was left with a total of 750,000. The staff invited him to check and receive the Hong Lian Ice Heart flower he purchased. Deep Tien Vu, having no life experience, didn't know what the check was, so he asked He Nhi, "Is the money all in here?" He Nhi smiled with eyes narrowed, confirming and saying he could take the check to the bank to withdraw money. Deep Tien Vu didn't know what a bank was, but luckily He Nhi was there and would take him. Meanwhile, the staff stopped him because someone wanted to meet him. The door opened, and who stepped in but Lahan, the auction's host from earlier. She introduced herself and asked if Deep Tien Vu had any other elixirs. He Nhi thought Lahan wanted to buy the beauty elixir, a type that could maintain the best beauty for 15 days, and would surely move any woman. However, the beauty elixir was sold out. Lahan believed they still had other elixirs and wanted to cooperate if possible. He Nhi acted sulky because they had refused to sell earlier. Lahan explained she was not representing the auction house but was acting individually and wanted to cooperate. She handed Diep Tien Vu a business card and said she could help sell his elixirs at the highest price. Deep Tien Vu took the card and looked over the information. This girl seemed normal with no bad intentions and was a good person, so he happily agreed to let Lahan become his personal manager. He Nhi wanted to stop him, but Deep Tien Vu had decided to trust Lahan. At that moment, Tran Kai Ki entered, still holding his beloved fan. Seeing Lahan, he looked displeased, but still greeted Diep Tien Vu and He Nhi. He asked if they still had elixirs, but He Nhi turned her back and said they were sold out. Tran Kai Ki grabbed He Nhi's shoulder, making her unhappy. He proposed cooperation, but He Nhi refused. Lahan stepped forward and said if Tran Kai Ki wanted to buy elixirs, he should negotiate with her. Tran Kai Ki appeared annoyed and threatened Lahan with a compromising video. He pushed Lahan to the ground and called 4 bodyguards to surround Diep Tien Vu and He Nhi. Tran Kai Ki sat on the chair holding a fan, asking in a threatening tone, "Can you two talk business now?" He forced them to choose between cooperating with him or with Lahan. He worriedly didn't know how to handle the situation, but Deep Tien Vu was extremely annoyed. He moved closer to Lahan. Earlier, she had agreed to become his manager, so from now on, no one had the right to bully her. He reached out to help Lahan stand up, tears streaming down her face. For some reason, at that moment, she felt a strange sense of security, something she had never experienced before. But as he ignored his own presence, a bodyguard approached from behind, intending to attack. When his hand touched Diep Tien Vu's collar, it suddenly stiffened. He screamed loudly, eyes rolling back from the pain. Inside the arm, no one could see all the bones and joints shattered. Tran Kai Ki was surprised. Could this be the ability to harden flesh and skin? Then two others rushed in to attack, but Ke Ni and Ngotran blocked them. Ke Ni used Bai Wen Chung to knock one away. Ngotran used Ngotran Bong Bong Club to strike the other's leg, creating a whirlwind that sent them spinning several times before collapsing on the ground. Seeing his 4 men defeated, young Master Tran couldn't sit still. Tran Kai Ki angrily closed his fan, thinking their choice was foolish. Another person called out was Trio Ho, a level 2 psychic seemingly more formidable than the previous ones. Tran Kai Ki ordered to kill Deep Tien Vu, keep the 2 girls alive, and not to let Ngotran off. Kill them all! Trio Ho obeyed the command. Outside, Labao and Dung Nga were waiting. Labao was quite confident, but Dung Nga couldn't contact their boss, so they could only follow Deep Tien Vu. Earlier, Labao had spread rumors hoping to attract some people from the city. The more chaos, the more opportunities they had in the auction. Trio Ho saw Ngotran wielding a superpower weapon and decided to deal with the boy before he could attack. Ngotran used Ngotran Bong Bong only to block a tiger paw growing from the psychic's arm. His body was like a hunting tiger, claws and eyes sharp. Tran Kai Ki smugly said, Trio Ho is a peak level 2 psychic, not your rank D superpower weapon. That could defeat Trio Ho's claws. Almost reaching Ngotran, the boy raised his hand to shield his eyes, but in that moment, everything seemed to stop. Ngotran opened his eyes slightly and saw Trio Ho turning his head. Deep Tien Vu was holding his leg and threw him through several walls, leaving him sprawled. The next to suffer was Tran Kai Ki. Before he could react, Deep Tien Vu's hand was already in front of him. He immediately clenched a fist and smashed it into the ground to realign his jaw and face. He had been at his peak 500 years ago, and this guy dared to challenge him. Deep Tien Vu took out his phone and asked Ke Ni, "Was that footage just now a video?" Ke Ni said it was a video. It could be deleted, but she wasn't sure if it was saved elsewhere. He looked for the video with the purpose of deleting it, ensuring nothing could threaten La Han anymore. But a purple tail suddenly grew from behind him, aiming to attack the 2 girls. Deep Tien Vu discovered and grabbed the rough tail, pulling it back. Tran Kai Ki's body was lifted off the ground, his face and limbs all transformed. It turned out the tail was growing from inside his body. Another tail sprouted from his back, looking so grotesque that Ke Ni was terrified. The 2 tails, like blood-sucking vines, lunged toward them to attack. Ke Ni became the first target, but Deep Tien Vu quickly stepped in to shield her. The spot where Ke Ni had just stood was no longer recognizable. Luckily, he arrived just in time. Otherwise, Ke Ni would have ended up like the floor. She asked him in panic, "Is that a supernatural power?" Deep Tien Vu raised his hand to protect Ke Ni. "This is not a supernatural power." A golden light formed in his palm. Tran Kai Ki was bitten and swallowed, no longer in human form. One of his eyes was damaged and his tongue extended like a lizard's. He shot out a long tail toward Deep Tien Vu. With both hands, he formed a tower shape and cast the heavenly net spell. This powerful move directly clashed with Tran Kai Ki's tail, piercing and shattering it, shocking everyone at the auction. Outside, Duong Nga and Labao were left speechless in horror. Deep Tien Vu, along with Lahan, Ke Ni, and Ngotran, teleported outside. The eldest young Master Tran was dead. His men panicked and fled to report to the family head. Trio Ho awoke after the upheaval. The sudden collapse stunned him when he found Tran Kai Ki lying motionless among the rubble, his body mangled. Trio Ho was deeply shaken. He hurriedly checked the man's breath with trembling hands, but felt no sign of life. He retreated in panic. Deep Tien Vu remained lost in thought. The aura just now couldn't be mistaken. It was exactly like 500 years ago. It must be verified immediately. Trio Ho shouted, "You've killed him! Do you even know who he is?" Trio Ho's reaction made Deep Tien Vu even more suspicious. This person is definitely human, no doubt. Then what exactly was that aura just now? Trio Ho transformed into a half-human, half-beast form, but what appeared in Deep Tien Vu's eyes looked more like power derived from spirit stones. So the origin of this thing must be clarified. Trio Ho completed his transformation. He looked at Deep Tien Vu. Just an ordinary young man who killed his young master, definitely won't escape. He raised his claws to attack, but Diep Tien Vu pushed him away with a single slap that sent him flying 1,000,000 tigers' force 8,000 miles away. His flight path destroyed many buildings. You could see how terrifying the power of that slap was. Duong Nga and La Bao were terrified, unsure whether to keep watching or retreat immediately. After agreeing, the two quickly ran away. Kei turned around and found they were gone. Deep Tien Vu stepped forward to check the corpse, releasing a stream of purple energy. The flesh had turned into purple spirit stones. They even seemed sentient, trying to escape, but were drawn back by Diep Tien Vu's magic. Almost within reach, but just as Diep Tien Vu tried to grasp them, they suddenly evaporated without a trace. Looking at his empty hand, Diep Tien Vu thought silently, sure enough, that aura was exactly like the monster from 500 years ago. Kei reminded him to leave quickly. This person was the eldest young master of the Tran family. His father, Tran Hung, was very powerful and would definitely seek revenge on him. This was caused by Diep Tien Vu. He would have to bear the consequences himself. Actually, they didn't need to follow him. This matter didn't concern them. Kei didn't like him saying that. Weren't they part of the same group? Lahan was his manager. She wouldn't run away. Innocent Ngo Tran also vowed to follow his master. In the sky, a green sword streaked by. The young man riding the sword seemed to be from Tien Min. Clearly he sensed the aura but now saw nothing. He landed on the ruins just as Deep Tien Vu and his group were about to leave quickly, calling them to stop. Deep Tien Vu turned around unexpectedly, discovering the young man was a cultivator at the Bamboo Banner Realm. He carried the green sword on his shoulder, one hand in his pocket. On the side, there is a jade pendant. Question. Did you just see any monsters, or did anything strange happen here? Kei had just started to say, just now, when he interrupted, let me guess the houses on this side collapsed. Surely you must have witnessed some terrible events, right? Then you were frightened, but the monster ran away. Everyone was silent in response to this guy's actions. No one could say a word. He realized Kei was also a cultivator practicing chi refinement on the 3rd level. Kei was at a loss for words with him. Since he arrived, she hadn't spoken a single sentence. He smiled and apologized, then introduced himself. I am Lu Tenfong, the chief steward of the Immortal Alliance. Kei showed great excitement upon hearing that name. Deep Tien Vu asked what the Immortal Alliance was. Kei explained further. After the appearance of spirit stones, those with special abilities emerged, and the cultivator sects gradually dwindled. Currently, most cultivator sects have joined the Immortal Alliance, but the alliance is very mysterious. Very few people know where they are. I've only heard my grandfather mention them, but have never actually met anyone from the Immortal Alliance. Lu Tenfeng saw that Kei was knowledgeable and immediately invited her to join the Immortal Alliance. Receiving this offer, Kei's eyes lit up. Can I really join the Immortal Alliance? Lu Tenfeng firmly confirmed. Of course, the Immortal Alliance welcomes all cultivators. Everyone here can come. He examined each person carefully. There was no spiritual energy fluctuation on Lahan and the little monk. The Immortal Alliance only accepts those who have entered the chi refinement stage. His gaze shifted to Diep Tien Vu, who showed some spiritual energy fluctuations but with unclear cultivation level. Maybe just recently entered the stage. But it's fine. As long as everyone is interested in cultivation, just find him. He will lead everyone to the Immortal Alliance. None of the 4 could interrupt Lu Tenfeng's story. He was talking too much. Just as he was about to continue, the ringtone sounded. His ringtone was also strange. Love the single guy by the quiet pier. Love the tough guy with no ghosts. A ringtone no one could match. It was his senior sister calling. Lu Tenfeng answered, Hello, senior sister. The voice on the other end was not very friendly, loud enough to almost blow him away. Lu Tenfeng, what are you doing? Haven't you reported about the little guy yet? Senior sister's voice. I'm currently tracking a strange aura appearing in Hang Thun. The senior sister continued, Have you caught it yet? I just arrived, I'm investigating. Then stop investigating immediately, head to Dai Min Mountain. There's an anomaly detected there. Senior sister, you're also rushing there. Lu Tenfeng immediately became serious. He straightened up like standing at attention for the flag-raising ceremony preparing to sing the national anthem. Set off immediately. Senior sister reminded him to be careful and not to randomly recruit people into the Immortal Alliance. Recruitment is not your responsibility. Lu Tenfeng was about to say more, but the line was cut off, leaving a cold contempt behind. He sighed, realizing nothing could get past his senior sister. You have an important mission and must leave immediately. If anyone wants to join the Immortal Alliance, give them this card and have them come to Vu Ho Than Son to find me. He threw a card to Diep Tien Vu. It had a phone number on it. Then he mounted his sword and left in a stylish manner, leaving Kei standing watching with longing eyes. When will she be able to have her own flying sword? Deep Tien Vu held the card in his hand, thinking about the Immortal Alliance. Go check it out. Maybe there will be clues about the person he's looking for. Kei was eager to go to Vu Hotenson immediately. But first, she needed to find a quiet place to rest. Deep Tien Vu intended to refine some pills. Lahan suggested everyone follow her. She knew a very suitable place. She led them to a luxurious villa. In another room, the sound of a wine glass shattering echoed. A man knelt down to report to his master while a girl sipped her wine. Tran Hung, father of Tran Kai Ki, received news of his son's death. His face was full of fury. Who killed my son? According to the report, the culprit was someone from the Ko Va sect. Tran Hung gritted his teeth. Ko Va sect. He was at the peak of anger and hatred. That's his son's life. Kim Thu Chi Tweet Truk realized the situation had changed. Cooperation with Tran Hung could no longer continue. She gently picked up her umbrella, ready to leave, but Tran Hung held her back. Tweet Truk, who looked like an elegant young lady at first glance, suddenly revealed a demonic face. The deal was done. Tran Hung wanted all of Kim Thu Chi's people to act, but the 5 spirit stones were only enough to invite 5 people, and 5 was enough. Asai Ki. Her figure disappeared behind the door. Tran Hung sat crying into his hands, then ordered his subordinates, not just Kim Thu Chi, to spread the news and offer 100,000 reward for whoever caught his son's killer. The subordinates immediately carried out the order. Night fell at the Kim Thu Chi base. Tweet Truk returned to report to the boss. The Kim Thu Chi boss, hidden in the form of a puppet with 5 purple spirit stones, was worth a visit, especially since it granted him instantaneous teleportation ability. Tweet Truk didn't yet know whom to take, and the puppet stood up and walked toward her. Lactic and Kai Dui were downstairs. Odat was on his way back, still missing one person, so the boss would go along. Elsewhere, under a clear blue sky at the foot of a building, Fan Tan Lahan's boyfriend was pacing back and forth, calling and checking the time, but no one answered. Finally, he heard Lahan's voice ahead. "This is my house." Lahan led Diep Thien Vu, Kei Nhi, and Go Trun to the apartment she bought herself. The apartment had an ideal balcony for alchemy practice. Kei Nhi admired it. Lahan knew the building cost 50,000 to 60,000 and smiled lightly. 1 pill sells for 5,000. This house is only worth 2 pills. I had to work hard for 6 to 7 years to buy it. She noticed Fan Tan standing outside the apartment waiting for her. Kei Nhi noticed Lahan's strange expression and asked about it. Lahan was disappointed when she saw him. Before she could say anything, Fan Tan loudly reproached, "Do you know how many calls I made?" "Why didn't you answer?" Lahan coldly replied, "Not just today. I won't answer any more from now on." She walked past him, but Fan Tan grabbed her hand and asked what she meant. Lahan shrugged his hand off. "That video was given to Tran Kai Ki by you. Don't pretend you don't know. Only you could have recorded and handed over such a video." She didn't want to see him again and told him to leave. Fan Tan sneered at her pain, convinced he was right to give the video to Tran Kai Ki. He thought Lahan worked for young Master Tran just to lure him in. Lahan slapped him away and added another slap, tears streaming down her face. "Fan Tan, you're trash." Losing face, he tried to attack her but got slapped harder by Kei Nhi, knocking him to the ground. Kei Nhi grabbed his collar, pulling him up to teach him a lesson, but Lahan intervened, and they eventually left. Deep Tien Vu sensed Fan Tan might cause trouble and drew a small seal on his chest. Fan Tan vowed revenge against Lahan. Just wait. At Deep Bang's house, Deep Tien Ming returned carrying a gift bag, intending to show his sister the new gift, but saw their grandfather already sitting there. Deep Tien Ming greeted him. Deep Tien Li nodded in return. Deep Bang was still sulking because he had sent her guests away. Deep Tien Ming didn't think he did anything wrong, sat on the sofa, and drank a glass of water. He didn't believe they thought Deep Tien Vu was just a fraud. Deep Bang rebutted, "He's a cultivator. Grandfather told me to invite him home." Deep Tien Ming firmly didn't believe it. He set the glass down and spoke of the cultivator. Today, he truly encountered something miraculous. Deep Tien Min bought his sister a pill, witnessing firsthand the miraculous pill that turned a middle-aged woman back into her 20s. He hurriedly took out the pill bottle. The girl carefully examined the pill, then handed it to their grandfather, confirming it was a pill made by the ancestor. Deep Tien Ming was stunned when she said the pill was made from Bang Lin Tao, the same Bang Lin Tao he had given him. Just as he said this, he choked on his water, unable to believe his own hands. Deep Tien Li took the pill, examined it carefully, then scolded Thien Min for causing a catastrophe. Fan Tan, after being beaten, was hospitalized and being bandaged by a nurse. He suddenly saw a reward notice for a fake superpower user with Kei Nhi's image. Remembering the meeting at Lahan's house, he hurriedly got up, ignoring the bandaging, and called to report that he knew the killer's whereabouts. The news immediately spread to Tran Hung's house. gathering the fake superpower users interested in the reward at that location. Tran Ko reports to Tran Hung that Kim Thu Chi's people have still not arrived. Tran Hung anxiously wants to make contact, but can only wait for other supernatural users showing impatience. Along an S-level supernatural user doubts whether Tran Hung is truly relying on Kim Thu Chi. Tanyet, also an S-level supernatural user, agrees with Along. The two are confident they can help Tran Hung catch the target. Suddenly a bell rings. Talong asks in surprise, "What's that sound?" Outside the window, a flock of crows flies by, drawing attention. When the crows break through the glass and rush in, crow feathers fall down. In an instant, both Tanyat and Along are swiftly and precisely taken down. Along is speechless. Tran Hung suddenly notices another person who appeared without anyone realizing. Odat Kim Thu Chi's left thumb sits by the door with his beloved crow. Tran Hung anxiously asks who Odat is and what he wants. Tweet Truck appears to reassure. "Sorry, Boss Tran, someone spoke carelessly and needs a little teaching. Those 2 lives are the way I teach." Following her are Lakdich Kaidui and the old boss's puppet. Odat approaches Kaidui. Seeing enough people present, Tweet Truck decides to take action. 2 bright rays of sunlight. Fantan seriously says, "Follow me." Nguka, a Tier 1 supernatural user wearing sunglasses, asks, "Are you sure that person is at your girlfriend's house?" Fantan asserts, "I saw it with my own eyes. Catching them means a 100 million reward. We split it in half." Nguka nods, ready to get to work. "You've informed the Tran family, so their people will arrive soon." Fantan grins slyly. "That's why we must hurry. Provide effective clues, only 1 million now, but catching them means 100 million. Meanwhile, elsewhere, Diep Tuyet Vu is tense, frowning. Both he and Ngo Tran lean on their chins, staring downward. On the floor are 3 flower branches with petals like precious diamonds. Deep Tweet Vu points to the flowers and asks, "The master's pill furnace is broken. How are we supposed to refine pills now?" Deep Tweet Vu ponders, forgetting the furnace already exploded, then sighs in frustration. "Looks like I have to visit Tien Min first. They should have a high-quality pill furnace there." Suddenly, Yi Ni enters holding a towel and cheerfully says, "Lahan's bathroom is really nice. It's the first time I've bathed in such a large bathroom." Lahan carries a fruit plate, smiling warmly. "Pretty great, right? She likes bathing and has high standards for bathrooms, so she bought a place with a large bath." She sets the fruit plate on the table and invites everyone to eat. Hearing this, Tuyet Duk Tu and the master involuntarily exchange looks. Deep Tweet Vu suddenly shouts, "Got it!" Then he puts the 3 flowers into a pot, raising his hand to cast a spell that ignites the fire inside. Ike Nyi anxiously asks the senior, "Are you really sure you can refine pills like this?" Lahan explains, "As long as you control the fire temperature properly, it's possible." The fire grows larger, then suddenly shrinks until only smoke and 2 red spirit pills with swirl patterns remain. Deep Tweet Vu confidently holds up 1 pill, impressing everyone. Lahan is amazed, not expecting such miraculous pills to be made this way. He hands the 2 spirit pills to Lahan. "These are detox pills that can neutralize most poisons instantly. Please sell them for me." Lahan happily looks at them. "If it's a special occasion, their price could be sky high. Leave it to me, I'll definitely help you sell them at the best price." Diep Tuet Vu suddenly stops smiling, leaving everyone puzzled. Suddenly he shoots straight up into the air, bewildering everyone. What on earth is happening? In a tense scene, Tuyet Truck appears to meet Tran Hung. He immediately asks, "Where is your big boss?" Tweet Truck gently holds an umbrella, smiling in reply. "Boss Tran, don't be impatient. Isn't there still 10 minutes until the appointment?" Tran Hung props his hand on his face, looking impatient and threatening. "You better not make any mistakes." Suddenly, a flock of black crows flies toward him from nowhere. His subordinates panic and shout, "Boss, watch out those crows!" Odat appears face-covered, wearing a straw cloak on his shoulders, holding a bright red sickle right at Tran Hung's neck. In an instant, Tweet Truck calmly said, "Boss Tran, we only have a cooperative relationship. We are not your subordinates. Please watch your words." Tran Hung hesitated a bit, but still tried to negotiate. "I'm also Party A, don't you want more spirit stones?" Hearing this, Tweet Truck waved her hand in satisfaction. Odat quickly retracted his scythe and slowly advanced toward Tran Hung, despite the anger of the subordinates. That single action made Tran Hung so scared he started coughing harshly, turning pale and determined that he would make these people pay. Triu Ho whispered in his ear, "Boss, that guy is very strong. Right now we still have to rely on Kim Thu Chi's people to catch him, so don't get angry yet." Tran Hung glanced at the clock. There were 8 minutes left before the operation. Odat sat on a tree again below where Lakdik and Kai Dui. Tweetruk closed her eyes calmly. There was movement in the grass, and she opened her eyes to see who had arrived. The others were somewhat frightened. A spatial vortex appeared, causing Tweetruk's subordinates to panic. Deep Tweetvu stepped out of the space. Both sides shouted in surprise. "It's him!" Truho hurriedly pointed. "Boss, that's him. He killed young Master Tran Hung." Angrily pounding the table, he ordered, "Catch him for me. I will slowly torture him." Kaidik clenched his teeth fearfully, sweating profusely, thinking that he wasn't some con artist that Diep Bang had invited over. "Damn it, it seems he has deceived both me and Diep Thien Min." Odat raised his hand. A flock of black crows shot toward Deep Tweetvu. He just calmly waved his hand once, and the crows immediately collapsed. That guy was very surprised. Kai Dui said to Tweetruk, "He's very powerful. Lakdik and I have fought him before. That teleportation spirit stone was stolen by him." Tweetruk smiled slyly. "So it's Mia." Tran Hung pulled out a walkie-talkie and ordered all pseudo-superpowered people to immediately go to Golden Sand Park. The master cautiously watched the people behind him. He was completely surrounded but showed no fear. He stood silently with his hands clasped behind his back. A tall, scarred man confirmed to Tran Hung that catching Diep Tweetvu would earn a reward of 100,000 hon. Tran Hung gritted his teeth and declared, "Capture him alive and I'll add another 50,000. A rank 2 pseudo-superpowered man licked his lips excitedly. Making money is really easy these days. A red-haired girl holding a microphone stepped forward hesitantly. "General Tran, aren't you mistaken? This guy is only a low-level rank 2 pseudo-superpowered." She arrogantly put her hands on her hips. "His electric wave fluctuation ability hasn't even reached rank 1. She was even more determined to get that money." He placed his hand on the ground, and a blue wave spread out quickly toward Diep Tweetvu. But he stood on that wave expression calm and fearless. Nothing happened. Seeing this, the two others stood dumbfounded in place, amazed. "How is this possible?" Deep Tweetruk laughed and said, "Sure enough, it's him." At this moment, Deep Tweetvu was standing with his hands behind his back, hovering in the air, not touching the wave at all. A rank 2 doubted his flying ability. It is rare, but how can a rank 1 pseudo-superpowered person use such a skill so proficiently? Ha-Ting confirmed the measuring device showed no issues. The rank 2 turned away, leaving him in the air to be dealt with by her. Ha-Ting quickly spread the black wings on her back, confidently saying, "The air is my territory." Immediately, she shot up into the sky. Before Deep Tweetvu's eyes, she dashed in and used her foot to create a large explosion. Suddenly, her eyes widened in horror. Deep Tweetvu caught her with one hand calmly as he observed her wings. Animal shape-shifting power and even object transformation ability are these all from the Spirit Stone's power. Still not touching the ground, he seriously raised his hand and gently grabbed her ankle, immobilizing her. He flicked her away. She landed, causing an explosion that blinded the scene with dust and smoke everywhere. The rank 2 carried her and ordered, "Let's go together." Deep Tweetvu remained unshaken and immediately raised his hand to form a magic array. "Then let's deal with them all at once." The yellow circle he created kept growing, threatening power everywhere. The bright light dazzled, sweeping away enemies wherever it went. All of them were sucked into the circle. Finally, he wiped his hands in satisfaction. The old men saw the situation was bad, their faces pale with no blood left. He stammered, "Where did they go?" Diep Tweetvu continued to create a floating orb in his hand, saying, "A good place." Tweetruk commented, "At first glance, not a psychic." Feathers suddenly floated around him. The masked man let a giant crow flying over. He snatched the man's weapon. Casually making a few basic Yashua strikes, the crow's parts instantly severed. The man didn't even understand what just happened. With a loud bang, the impact was a permanent goodbye. Holding the scythe in hand, he praised, "This looks cooler than Ngo Tran's hammer." The man trembled, trying to stand as he raised the scythe. The ice began to melt as he stabbed the scythe into the ground. Sharp shards of ice suddenly shot up. He quickly stepped back. Tweetruk smirked, praising his quick reaction. The two hovered, surrounded by a wall of ice. A Tweetruk behind Kai Dui said to Lakdik, "I heard there's a snow woman in Kim Thu Chi. Turns out it's her. Rumor has it she once defeated 3 level 4 psychics alone. Moreover, she killed all 3. Tran Hung smugly thought Kim Thu Chi is truly reliable. At this rate, catching him will be as easy as holding up your hand." She ordered to finish it. Tuete immediately activated her whole body. Deep Tweetvu was frozen. She raised her hand to her mouth, laughing. Before she could relish it, he spoke, Finally, a worthy opponent. She was startled. He created a large ring of fire around her. Annoyed, she gritted her teeth and fanned her face. Fire and ice collided. All the ice melted under the heat. She panicked. Is he unharmed again? Suddenly, he appeared behind her, placing a hand on her shoulder, quickly snatching the umbrella from her hand. Red threads wrapped around her waist, pulling her away. At that moment, a giant puppet appeared. She was stunned. "Thanks, boss," he grunted. From his eyes, you could see the puppet rushing towards him. A huge explosion erupted in the air. His face darkened. Suddenly, a small girl rushed over and hugged him tightly. Crying, she said, "Young master, you finally come back." Deep Tweetvu smiled, gently stroking the girl's head. "Long time no see, Jiao Jiao." Everyone was amazed. Lockdick's eyes widened as he thought, so this is what the boss looks like. Tran Hung spoke. "Hey, boss of Kim Thu Chi, why are you hugging that guy?" What's going on? Tuet Truk was even more surprised. Pale-faced, she covered her mouth, recognized him as the young master the boss once mentioned. Dao Dao still sobbed. "For 500 years, I missed the young master so much I don't want to be apart from him anymore." He reassured her. "Okay, no more separation." Then he stroked her head and asked if there was any good news from the 3 Vu Lok people. Suddenly, a loud shout rang out. Kaidik summoned the tiger and killed them, hearing that they ran away despite Tran Hung reaching out. "Are you kidding? You want us two to fight half of Kim Thu Chi?" They were sweating in fear, shouting, "I don't want to die." Jiao Dao wiped her tears, smiled wickedly, and ordered, "Don't let them escape." The enemies obeyed, rushing to cut off their path. Kaidik chuckled. "Want to run? Oh, the black crow flock has already blocked the tiger below." Tweet Truk was all cold ice now. A familiar figure stepped in front of Tran Hung. He was terrified, pale as death, shouting, "You can't do this. I already paid 5 spirit stones. I'd double the price to kill him." Tweet Truk leaned her umbrella against the icy ground and softly said, "Boss Tran is done for." Returning to Lahan's house, she put 2 spirit pills into a wooden box and asked Yi Ke Ni, "Who exactly is he that can use a pan to refine pills? It's truly miraculous." She admired and replied, "I only know that the senior is very formidable, but someone that formidable must be a highly renowned figure." Ngotran raised his hammer in agreement. Of course, the founder would be formidable. Suddenly, a huge explosion blew off the wooden door. The 2 of them turned around in panic. Fan Tan had brought a man in black. Lahan angrily said, "It's you." Fan Tan smiled and pointed. "5th brother, capture them. Wait for that guy to come back. Of course he'll be helpless and tied up." 5th brother smiled slyly, gripping his hammer, thinking, "Taking this 100 million is way too easy." Ngotran and YK Ni stood in front to protect Lahan. She cursed, "You worthless scum, don't even think about getting your hands on it." Ngotran charged forward, raising his heavy hammer. 5th brother tensed his clothes, torn and ragged, quickly transforming into a demonic wolf to threaten him, swiping with sharp claws. Ngotran stepped back to dodge. Lahan and Ngotran both painfully hit the floor. But before they could steady themselves, he lunged again with a powerful punch as fast as lightning. Ek Ni used the cloud palm technique against him. Unfortunately, he knocked her far away with a single punch. She painfully hit the ground, causing the other 2 to worry. They stared fearfully at the person before them. Fantan put his hands in his pockets and smirked. After Tuet Truk finished dealing with things, she returned to report to her boss, "Yes, Jiao Jiao." He gestured with his hand and introduced, "From now on, all actions of the Kim Thu Chi members will follow the young master's orders." Everyone replied in unison, "Yes, greetings, young master." He forced a smile, thinking quietly. This is just like 500 years ago, always able to gather a group of talented people. Suddenly, he noticed something. Dao Dao linked arms with him to speak, but he cut her off. "Dao Dao, come with me to handle some matters." Once again, he soared forward, surprising those left behind. The 2 guys over there were grinding their teeth. 5th brother sensed something, his body immediately stiffened. Dao Dao and Deep Tuet Vu instantly teleported right in front of them. Ngotran grabbed his leg and screamed, "Master!" Ek Ni also looked at him happily, senior. Suddenly, golden rays appeared on Fantan's chest, and he struggled, unable to move. Dao Dao covered her mouth and laughed, asking enemy. She suddenly smiled angrily. Anyone trying to rush her just needed to wave her hand, and the threads immediately tightened around the enemy, immobilizing Trung. She turned to ask the young master's permission. "May I capture them?" He agreed, and she relaxed her hands, crossing them over each other. Suddenly, the house echoed with shouts of "Engage!" Kai Ki, severely injured, slowly opened his eyes, clutching his chest in pain as he tried to stand. "Am An Long Vuong A level 6. Psychic pinned a man underfoot and disdainfully said, "Kim Thu Chi only has this much strength." He looked at Tran Kai Ki number 11, "You've also awakened." Tran Kai Ki weakly said, My body is badly wounded. Help me find a place to heal. Aman Lung Vuong turned away. Trouble is coming, follow me. He carried Tran Kai Ki on his back and flew away. Lu Tenfeng and his senior sister rode swords to approach him, landing where someone lay motionless. The senior sister also slowly approached while Lu Tenfeng carefully checked if the person was alive. Information appeared showing the person's name was Lu Dot, one of Kim Thu Chi's right-hand members. The senior sister held an iPad and revealed more. We could kill him. But what kind of monster exactly is he? Lu Tenfeng rested the blade on his shoulder, looking at the body in front of him, and asked, Lu Dot of Kim Thu Chi is a right-hand member. The senior sister nodded in confirmation. Right-hand members of Kim Thu Chi are much stronger than the left. I met Lu Dot once, and his strength surpasses mine. She sat down to observe the wounds on the body and the energy fluctuations we detected. It's very likely caused by number 3. Lu Tenfeng rubbed his chin in suspicion. If it really was caused by number 3, then the monster's strength is beyond what Kim Thu Chi can handle. Then whose movement did I detect? According to the news from headquarters, that guy is also heading this way. You suddenly realize and slap your hands together. Ah, I get it. Those two have met. It must be so. Senior sister, if they gather and go together, it is very likely that the torturer I chased just awakened. Senior sister looked up and said, Can I say a few words? Liu Qingfeng shyly scratched his head and invited her to continue. Actually, your analysis is not wrong. The guy you chased is very likely to have just awakened. We still don't know how they awakened, but one thing is certain. They must be related to the great battle 500 years ago, and their numbers are increasing. Liu Qingfeng asked again. I remember that the Water Pavilion Master once captured one, right? Did their master find out any information? Senior sister crossed her arms and shook her head. Not really clear. The orders from above are for us to pursue and investigate these monsters and not to miss any information. But if Liu Da is already dead, then the strength of these monsters is beyond what we can handle. We should return and report to the master first. Liu Qingfeng raised his hand and talismans from his hand covered the body on the ground. He hurriedly stepped forward to lift the body holding a sword in one hand and carrying the body on his shoulder, then turned and said, Senior sister is right, let's go back to Shanming first. Kai Dui sat smoking in front of a tall apartment building. On the tree was Odot, and under the tree's roots was Lock Deek, Kai Dui said. I didn't expect that brat to be the young master of Lock Deek's eldest brother, and also didn't expect the eldest brother to be a beautiful young lady. Kai Dui glanced and asked, Are you really willing to be that brat's subordinate from now on? I don't even know what identity that guy has. Lack Dick held something in his hand and replied, I don't mind as long as I can keep using this weapon, I'm fine with it. Following anyone is the same. Then he looked up and asked Odat, What do you think? Odat replied, That guy is stronger than the eldest brother. Following him is only beneficial, not harmful. Kai Dui stubbed out the burning cigarette on a stone slab, then threw it away. Actually, I never understood why the eldest brother doesn't let us use black spirit stones, only purple spirit stones. Lack Dick explained, Of course the eldest brother has his own reasons, we just follow orders. Kai Dui continued asking, Then on what basis can the right-hand men use black spirit stones? If this keeps going on, the gap will only get bigger. He angrily left. Now suddenly there's a young master appearing out of nowhere. He joined Kim Thu Chi just because of the spirit stones. If he can't get them, he'll just retreat. Suddenly, Tuyet Truk holding an umbrella approached, making him startle and turn around. She glared threateningly. If you dare to leave, I guarantee you'll turn to ice shards the next second. Kai Dui immediately became fearful, calculating that her spirit stone power was too strong. Tuyet Truk continued speaking. Kim Thu Chi does not allow traitors. If you want to leave, go ahead, just tell the eldest brother. Then she closed the umbrella and walked away, leaving Kai Dui confused alone. Right about this, you guys are wrong. All the right-hand members of our side are not supernatural power users, but cultivators, she said while turning her face with a sharp, cold gaze. Kai Dui and Lack Dick immediately widened their eyes in surprise. At Lahan's house, Diep Tuit Vu was very tired, with Ngo Tran and Dao Dao each holding one of her arms. She gave a pitiful look and said, Dao Dao doesn't want to be apart from the young master. And Ngo Tran also said, doesn't want to be apart from the grandmaster. Yikanyi drank water, irritably observed Lahan, then stepped forward and asked, making her startle and spit out water. What's wrong? Jealous? She shyly denied quickly, no way. Deep Tweet Vu affectionately said, It's been 500 years, still such a childish temperament. He patted her head to comfort her. All right, haven't we met again now? I promise I won't suddenly disappear anymore. Hearing this, she smiled reassuredly like a child being comforted. Lahan looked shocked beyond belief this time. Is this the Kim Thu Chi eldest brother who is so notorious? He spoke in a warm, deep voice. That's right. How has everyone lived in the past 500 years? Do you know where the Vulak are now? She lowered her head with a sad expression and sighed. Almost all cultivators joined that great battle back then. We followed the young master's orders to divide and support the other cultivation sects. When the decisive battle took place, I used Golden Decay Thunder to escape underground to save my life. That was also when he dashed straight toward the giant monster in a flash of light. When she woke up after the cliff, everything was in ruins. Before her was the modern world. She continued emotionally. After I returned, the world had completely changed. I lost contact with the Vulak group. He nodded and said, "Their strength is very powerful. Surely they have a way to survive." She recalled in a low, sorrowful voice, "Tattered clothes." I walked through the crowded streets in the rain. After returning, I started searching for everyone, but almost all the sects had disappeared. I had nowhere else to go. Then I avoided cultivation for nearly 100 years in a desolate, rocky mountain area. He asked about Golden Finger, she explained in a low tone. After the cultivators disappeared, essence, stones, and mutants quickly appeared on Earth. I found it strange and began investigating, but alone my ability was limited. So I chose some subordinates and established Golden Finger. He anxiously asked, "Do you suspect the appearance of essence stones is related to that monster from back then?" She replied seriously. "It's not suspicion, it's definitely related. But I'm not sure if the appearance of the star crystal is random or..." She hesitated for a moment and then continued, "Or if someone is behind it." He asked, "Have you found any useful information?" She nodded, "Yes. For the past 2 years, I discovered a place causing trouble." He asked, "Where?" She firmly stated, "The Psychic Association." Suddenly, a noise echoed. Lahan volunteered to check it out. She looked through the peephole, then quickly reported, "They are members of the Psychic Association." The senior sister cautiously told Lu Tanfong, "Someone is coming." The two hid behind a large rock, carefully watching 2 women approach. She furrowed her brow suspiciously. The Psychic Association. Lu Tanfong said to the senior sister, "These 2 are not ordinary. They seem to be officers of the Psychic Association." The senior sister seriously said, "I wonder if they are here because of us. Let's observe the situation for now." Tanfong, eager for a fight, said, "From what I see, these guys like to cause trouble. Then let's have a fight with them. I love fighting psychics the most." Lu Sa, an officer of the Psychic Association, spoke up. "Looks like they haven't gone far." Ung Vung, also an officer, raised his hand to his nose. "I smell cultivators here. This is trouble." Liu Sa smiled sinisterly and charged to find her, immediately spreading her palm. A red rose appeared in the center of her palm. From it, a magic formation was activated. Rose petals flew toward the senior sister. The senior sister shouted anxiously, "Not good." Liu Sa smiled mysteriously, "Found you." The rose petals suddenly became sharp and lunged at them. Thangfeng quickly drew his sword and slashed each petal. He placed the blade on the ground. The 2 were very cautious. Liu Sa said, "Haven't we revealed ourselves already?" Ung Vung crossed his arms and laughed. "Looks like just 2 lackeys." Thangfeng angrily pointed at them and shouted, "I'm a young elite member of Tianmin, you know. Who the hell are you?" Ung Vung confidently said, "Tianmin is a joke. This world no longer needs cultivators like you." Behind him appeared a gigantic black crow with blazing red eyes and the character "To Death" on it. Death on. It lunged quickly toward Thangfeng, radiating a dark, evil aura. Thangfeng swiftly cast the Thenming sword technique. A wave of blue swept through, scattering the flying petals. The crow's attack caused a massive explosion with thick smoke. Thangfeng coughed worriedly. "Senior sister, are you all right?" The senior sister came over unharmed and placed her hand on his shoulder. Her other hand held a talisman. "I'm fine. These 2 are very strong. Let's retreat." She raised the talisman to cover one eye. It transformed into a dazzling golden light. Then the 2 floated inside a large, invisible sphere. On the ground lay the body wrapped with the earlier talisman. Ung Vung exclaimed, "These cultivators sure are good at escaping." As the scene changed, Lahan was opening the door for someone to enter the house. He praised Nai and asked, "What are the members of the Psychic Association doing here?" Standing outside the door were 2 people wearing dark sunglasses with serious expressions. Zhao Zhao whispered while raising her hand, "Looks like just the lowest-level ordinary members of the Psychic Association. Not a threat." Lahan asked, "Do you have business here?" The man replied, "We detected signs of a fight here before. We're here to inspect according to regulations." Zhao Zhao took out a black card and approached. "They are with us." He examined the Kim Thu Chi card carefully. "She is the leader of Kim Thu Chi." She confirmed coldly. He nervously handed the card back to her with both hands. "I understand. I'll report back to the association." The woman holding a device asked, "Are there unregistered psychics among you? According to our investigation, the fighting at the guild hall involved an unknown aura." Du Zhao replied, "That's right. There are unregistered members. I'll have them register later." She pushed up her glasses and said, "You probably know the association's rules. Now we ask permission not to disturb you further." Without hesitation, they left immediately. Dao Dao turned around, her gaze lingering on the shocked faces of the others. Deep Tweet Vu asked, "We're not psychics, but we still have to register with the Psychic Association." She stepped beside him, her voice gentle but firm. "Young master, this world has completely changed." She lifted the white curtain just after a minor clash. Members of the Psychic Association appeared immediately. She looked out the window, her eyes following the two figures, saying, "All psychics must register with the association. Otherwise, they cannot freely use their powers." Then she drew the curtain back, her voice deeper. "Moreover, they are not as simple as they seem." She sat down, continuing calmly. "The two just now had powers at least level 2 equivalent to our chi refinement stage. But they are only the lowest-ranking members in their association." Deep Tweet Vu wondered. "So how strong are their higher-ups?" He sat beside her. She raised her hand, eyes thoughtful. "Not very clear, but with my power, I definitely couldn't fight them. But now that I'm back, maybe things will be different. However, I suggest that until my suspicions are confirmed, we should still act according to their rules." He stroked her head, making her blush as she listened. Ike Nyi spoke up. "My grandfather once told me not to use cultivation techniques in front of the Psychic Association, or we'd get into big trouble." Deep Tweet Vu asked, "What about Tian Ming? Don't they care about this?" She sighed, shaking her head in frustration. "Tian Min is too mysterious. No one knows where they really are except internal members. The only path now for cultivators is to join Tian Min." He snorted softly. "Interesting. 500 years ago, all cultivators saved the world together, but now they're ostracized like this." Dao Dao said, "That's why we must clarify this matter." La Han spread her arms. "But entering the Psychic Association isn't easy. The Psychic Powers Tournament hosted by the other factions is also organized by the association. Maybe we can start from there." Deep Tweet Vu recalled the purple-haired girl hand on his chin. "Speaking of which, someone invited me to join before." Dao Dao nodded. "The tournament is indeed a good breakthrough opportunity, but we need to discuss the specifics." She linked her arm with his, whining, "Oh, if Sister Vu Locke were here, that would be great. Those things are her specialty. I'm not very good at them." He pinched her cheek with a light smile. "I plan to ask Tian Min if there's any news about the Vu Locke group. We'll definitely find something." Suddenly, the phone vibrated. Zhao Zhao reached for it, looked at the screen, and froze. It was a message from the elder Nguyen Tiet Lu that is dead. She stood still, clutching the phone tightly. Deep Tweet Vu asked, "What happened?" She replied, "One of my subordinates was killed. I have to go check it out." He wanted to go with her and immediately agreed. Ikenyi and Ngo Tran also wanted to come. Deep Tweet Vu waved his hand. "Everyone knows the strength of Zhao Zhao's subordinates. Whoever killed them must be very strong. Right now, everyone here is still weak. Stay here and wait for me." The two felt aggrieved but said nothing. Deep Tweet Vu and Dao Dao quickly disappeared. La Han placed a hand on Ikenyi's shoulder to encourage her. "Leave the fighting to them. I'll take you two to some fun places." Hearing this, the two brightened up with joy. Liu Sa sat beside the corpse, unsure how to proceed. Ung Vung said extract the spirit stones from his body. She was a bit scared. "He belongs to Kim?" "Chu Tree. Are you sure we have to do this? I'm afraid this will cause conflict." He grinned slyly. "The association allows Kim Chu Tree to exist. Do you think it's because they're afraid of them?" She held up the talisman with a mysterious smile. "I understand now." She pointed as the talisman was slowly removed. Ung Vung said, "Everyone in Kim Chu Tree has some power. Keeping them around is somewhat beneficial." Suddenly, she was startled. He asked, "What's wrong?" Her face turned pale. "There are no spirit stones in his body." Her words struck like a thunderbolt. He shouted, "What did you say?" Scene shifts to a place full of sharp mountains, fierce lightning striking the ground. A beast approached the corpse, praising truly a magnificent body. A much larger beast, dozens of times bigger, approached with a buffalo-like head, but wings. Give my a few days to get used to it, then it will join the plan. It replied, this planet has lasted too long, it's time to end it. The great dragon said, according to this planet's time calculation, there is 1 more year before Lord General arrives. Until then, we just need to complete our mission. It nodded, I understand. Lord Ung sat beside the corpse and asked, how is this possible? Have you checked thoroughly? Liu Sa said. Let me confirm again. She pulled out a device which emitted a blue wave spreading over Liu Da's body. The device displayed the words, no energy reaction. She closed her eyes and confirmed, that's right, he's not a psychic, but there's no spirit stone energy in his body. Lord Ung pondered, not a psychic, but has the strength of a level 5 psychic. He doubted, could he be? Before he finished, Liu Sa said, you guessed right. Maybe he's an immortal cultivator. This is truly an earth-shattering secret. It seems the Kim Master's purpose is not as simple as it appears. Then they looked at Liu Da again. Liu Sa asked, what should we do? He ordered decisively, take the body back to the association for handling and report to superiors immediately. Suddenly he sensed something unusual, and they became alert. Shout out to someone. Immediately she swung her hand and a rose appeared with many petals. He summoned the beast again, its claws lunging forward. Ice quickly covered the newly created petals and claws. Xuezhu Daodao and Deep Tweet Vu appeared instantly. Lord Ung recognized Kim Master's Xuezhu. She smiled faintly and said, it seems you two have discovered things you shouldn't know. He was not afraid. Folding his arms, replied unexpectedly, Kim Master, you are immortal cultivators. How did you pass the association's inspection? Zhu Shu waved her hand, sharp ice blades appeared. This is not something you should concern yourselves with now. Liu Sa raised her hand to the sky, forming an array rose petals flew in from afar again. A clash between the power of the rose petals and the ice erupted, finally creating a large explosion with thick smoke. From the smoke emerged a gigantic black wing. Deep Wong Vu exclaimed, unbelievable, immortal cultivators really have such miraculous power. Liu Sa whispered in his ear, watch that person. He had identified the target looking toward Dao Dao and Diep Tuit Vu standing beside the corpse. He doubted, who is that person? And that young man too, I don't recall Kim Master having only 2 like that. Zhao Zhao raised her hand, red threads gradually spreading. Liu Sa shouted in panic, be careful! As she pushed Lord Ung away, the thread wrapped around her wrist, and in panic, she watched the thread spread up her arm, gritting her teeth, enduring the pain her arm was severed. One thread broke and the rose petals scattered wildly. Lord Ung stood observing. Zhao Zhao acted. He turned pale with fear, sweating profusely. She is the Scarlet Beauty Demon. Liu Sa's eyes widened in fear as she asked, she is the Scarlet Beauty Demon. Lord Ung looked fearfully at Dao Dao's figure. Within the association, it's rumored there is a psychic who never registered with the ability to use red threads to attack and control enemies. The association has repeatedly dispatched senior officers to capture that person, but never succeeded. No one has ever seen this person's true face. Years of investigation only revealed this person wears a red hat with the power to control others using red threads. All officers sent have fallen. Dao Dao is called the Scarlet Beauty Demon. Deep Tweet Vu folded his arms. Seems Dao Dao is even more famous than me. Liu Sa looked pale and guessed, could the Scarlet Beauty Demon be the Kim Master's boss? And she stood trembling with folded arms. Lord Ung spoke. Looks like we just uncovered some terrible news. Dao Dao smirked seductively. Seems like you know a bit too much. She raised her hand, threads wrapped around her index and pinky fingers spreading. He shouted in panic, be careful! Liu Sa was shocked before she could react. The red threads attacked her heart directly and she immediately collapsed in front of Lord Ung. He was extremely terrified. This person truly matches the rumors with an undetectable power. Diep Xuezhu stepped forward to stop. Wait, Zhao Zhao. She immediately stopped looking at her. Can the boss entrust that person to me? Deep Tweet Vu pondered. Yes, about to break through. Zhao Zhao turned back to look at him. He nodded gently in agreement. Lord Ung shouted angrily, do you really want to oppose the entire psychic association? Xuezhu lightly touched the misty smoke, forming an array called Snow Sacrifice. Sharp ice pillars surrounded that man, leaving him no time to react. Crow feathers scattered everywhere as it tried to fly away to dodge the powerful attack. Moving in front of Tuyet Truk, she created a stream of icy power, blocking a head from her hand. The ice spread out, covering the bird's feet. It was thrown away by the whirlwind. She held the umbrella up, and from it the power radiated out, throwing the bird away. She twirled the umbrella open. It flew in the air, angrily growling. A cultivator doesn't still need to use a superpower weapon. Hearing this, she paused for a moment, then immediately threw the umbrella away. If the old man hadn't asked me to disguise, I wouldn't want to use this thing. The bird's red-rimmed eyes kept watching her. Tuyet Truk showed no fear, her expression indifferent as she looked at it, then raised her hand toward it, withdrew her hand along with glowing energy, asking if the Spirit Stone could achieve this level. Its wings gradually froze, it panicked and screamed loudly. What? In its eyes now was an image of Tuyet Truk rising with doubt. You haven't even touched me yet, how could this be? It struggled in vain, but was still enveloped by ice and snow, finally turning into a huge ice block falling to the ground before Tuyet Truk's eyes. Deep Tweet Vu nodded with a satisfied smile. Innate extreme cold physique. The Ice Soul Guard technique given to her can exert its greatest power, and she clearly knows her breakthrough point, needing to rely on combat to break through. Truly a potential seed. Zhao Zhao said it seemed her Ice Soul Guard technique had already reached the 3rd level. Tweet Truk bowed respectfully, thanking the elder for giving me this cultivation method. Dao Dao reached out to Diep Tweet Vu. This is a technique created by the young master. If you want to thank someone, you should thank him. She blushed shyly and bowed her head in gratitude to the senior. He laughed with a wave of his hand. I hate all this empty politeness the most. She came closer and he stepped in front of her, raising his hand to point at her forehead, golden waves appearing to bind her. Her vision at that moment was the kind face of her master. He withdrew his hand and said, You just broke through the chaotic spiritual energy inside your body. Relying on yourself, you need to meditate quietly for 2 months. After helping her regulate the spiritual energy, now she can use the Ice Soul Guard technique at will. She barely managed to say 2 words, thank you, before I burst out laughing and interrupted, No need to thank me. Keep working hard on your cultivation. When your Ice Soul Guard technique reaches the 5th level, I will give you something even more powerful. The atmosphere around felt sweeter. In her mind, only 3 words echoed, my person. The body of Liu Sa on the ground suddenly rose as a rose petal slowly floated into the air. The scene shifted elsewhere. Lahan led everyone for a walk down the street. Kanyi looked around and asked, Sister Lahan, where is this place? It looks pretty run down. Lahan smiled and explained, This place may be simple, but it's not ordinary. There is only an old man sitting in a chair fanning his face. Don't judge by appearances. The amount of treasures traded here rivals the auction houses of Tron Kai Ki. She waved to call Mr. Dong, but the old man remained silent. She pointed at a board with strange patterns and said, Old rules. Lahan nodded as if familiar with them. She bent down to do something with the board, then stood up, dusted off her skirt, and pointed at the board. Mr. Dong, take a look at this. The old man lowered his fan, his face full of wrinkles with one eye covered by a metal plate. Mr. Dong carefully examined Lahan's solution on the board. The 3 of them waited. Lahan appeared confident, while Kanyi and Ngotran were nervous on her behalf. After a while, Mr. Dong nodded. The answer is correct. The solving speed is also fast. It seems you have put in a lot of effort. Lahan humbly thanked him. I'm just like you, fond of mathematics and often spend time studying it. Mr. Dong smiled. Mathematics is wonderful. Everything is connected to physics and mathematics. Lahan nodded. You're right. I will continue to learn. At this point, Mr. Dong asked about the 2 people accompanying Lahan. Introduce Kanyi and Ngotran, your good friends. This time they came for trading. Mr. Dong smiled. Of course I know you're not here just to play. If they're your friends, let them come in as well. They entered the shop. Passing through the door, Kanyi realized there was a barrier inside. The lights turned on. Kanyi and Ngotran's eyes widened in surprise. The shop inside was filled with modern equipment. Robots cleaned and papers were scattered everywhere, completely different from the simple appearance outside. Lahan explained, The first time I came here, I was very surprised, too. Mr. Dong is a brilliant inventor. Ngotran curiously touched a robot. It displayed a smiling face and emitted sounds like a 5-year-old child. Ngotran laughed. Are you underestimating me? But the robot quickly changed to a stern face. Superpower weapon detected. Superpower weapon detected, Mr. Dong asked. Do you have superpower weapons? Ngotran immediately presented his grade D superpower weapon and apologized. I didn't know it wasn't allowed in. Mr. Dong did not blame him. He only said, "You can bring it in, but I don't encourage its use." Lahan sat down and curiously asked, "You don't encourage it? I remember last time you were still researching spirit stones. Have you made any new discoveries?" Mr. Dong put on his coat. "Yes. I have been researching spirit stones for many years, aiming to use their energy to create something stronger than superpower weapons. But now I've discovered this energy can cause abnormalities. It can even invade the human brain." All three turned pale after hearing this. Mr. Dong added, "This is just a hypothesis. There is no concrete evidence yet." Kei thanked him for the warning. Mr. Dong changed the subject. "All right, now let's see what Lahan brought to trade." Lahan took out 2 detox pills. "Mr. Dong, please take a look." He observed, carefully opened the bottle cap and sniffed. "These are 3rd-grade pills. Could it be that you are also a cultivator?" He looked at Kei and laughed loudly. "It's been a long time since I've met a young cultivator. Lahan brought something excellent this time. Who gave you this pill? It can't be that you just started practicing this chi technique, right?" He put away the 2 pills. Lahan began negotiating the price. "If you offer a good price, I will introduce you to the alchemist." Mr. Dong smiled. "You are really clever. Rest assured, doctor, I won't short you a single cent." From experience, these 2 pills could easily sell for 15 million each. Lahan shook her head. "That's not the price I want yet. This is a 3rd-grade detox pill that can neutralize almost every poison on Earth. I hope to sell it for 20 million per pill." Mr. Dong scratched his ear. "Doing business with someone good at math really makes things difficult for me. You believe this kind of pill can bring huge profits for me? Then I will transfer 40,000 to you, but you promise that if there are pills in the future, you must prioritize me first." Lahan shook his hand. "Of course. Cooperating with you also eases my worries." Mr. Dong was eager to meet the alchemist, because a 3rd-grade pill like this hasn't appeared for many years. Right now, the alchemist is the boss of Lahan. When the opportunity arises, I will definitely introduce you two to each other. The transaction ended successfully. At the Psychic Association branch in Hangthan Loi Tiu, an official of the association was sitting and drinking tea in a stone-like form. A subordinate rushed in to report unhappy news. This trouble displeased Loi Tiu. The trembling subordinate continued. "The lifelight of Ung Vung has gone out." The cup in Loi Tiu's hand fell to the ground. "And what about Lu Sa?" His reaction made the subordinate sweat nervously. "Lu Sa's light hasn't gone out yet, but its brightness has greatly diminished. It seems she is also seriously injured." Loi Tiu angrily returned to his human form and prepared to leave. Before leaving, he reminded his subordinate, "If anyone dares to mess with the Psychic Association again, send me their address and phone number so I can see exactly who dares to be so bold." Over at Diep Thien Vu's place, Dao Dao used a red thread to inspect Lu Dat's body. A preliminary look showed Liu Sa and Ung Vung's strength was insufficient to kill Lu Dat. Dao Dao knew this, but then who did this? Suddenly, Dao Dao discovered something astonishing. Diep Thien Vu noticed her reaction and asked, "What have you found?" Dao Dao pointed at the young master Lu Dat. "Look here. Purple smoke keeps rising." Diep Thien Vu examined it. It was almost identical to the aura of the monster from 500 years ago. Indeed, their remnants still exist on Earth. That's certain. Previously, he had encountered one, but they were just minor monsters, nothing to worry about. Zhao Zhao asked, "Do you have a plan? Alien threats alone might not be enough." Thinking this, she couldn't help but feel bitter. Back then, only the United Cultivators defeated it. Now, if it returns... Diep Thien Vu raised his hand to soothe Zhao Zhao's head. "Don't worry. We won once, we will win again. I, the young master, haven't lived in vain these past 500 years. Reassured by his words, she felt somewhat comforted. This time, she would definitely follow the young master. After all, she was a member of Kim Chu Tree. How do you plan to handle this? Zhao Zhao used magic to create a turtle-shaped puppet, then placed Lu Dat's body inside, closing it like a coffin. The monster killed Lu Dat. Zhao Zhao would definitely find it. After finishing, they left. Dao Dao asked him if they infiltrated again. What was his plan? He hesitated, unsure how to answer. "Let's find the Vulak group first." Just as Dao Dao expected, he had no concrete plan yet, but rest assured. With him here, there was nothing to worry about. 10 minutes after Diep Thien Vu's group left, Loi Tiu sped on a motorcycle to this area. There were traces of ice element magic here. He took off his helmet and looked at the ice energy fluctuating ahead. This energy must be at least a level 5 psychic ability. The bushes behind him made a noise. He turned around alert. A red petal flew down and landed on the ground. Could this possibly be Liu Sa, The petal reacted. As if answering his question, she is very weak. He worriedly told her to hold on. He would bring her back. Then he got in the car and sped away like flying. Kimsa Lake Park, 40,000. He didn't expect 2 antidote pills to be worth that much. After all, the non-Dan pills used to only auction for 5,000 each. Lahan handed the card to Diep Tien Vu. The money is all in here. The buyer wants to cooperate with us long-term, so the price isn't too low. I don't understand business, so just worry about the long-term cooperation. I won't keep this 40,000 card. Take out 10,000 to help me gather top-quality spiritual medicines. Use the rest to buy a quiet apartment. The bigger the better. Take out 3,000 for Lahan as her payment for working for me. Lahan nodded happily because of that. She really got a good boss. After finishing, Lahan left. K-Ni and Ngo Tran stayed behind. Currently, besides them, there are Dao Dao, Tuyet Truk, and Odat. They found a place to sit down and discuss. He recounted the story from 500 years ago. Tuyet Truk listened and turned pale. So, the reason there are so few cultivators now is because the great battle 500 years ago caused huge losses. Only those who witnessed it like Dao Dao truly know. At that time, cultivators around the world united, but in the end, less than 1/10 survived. K-Ni didn't expect such a terrifying monster existed. Even Diet Thien Vu couldn't defeat it. He admitted they were completely not on the same level. So if a monster of that level appears again now, the world we live in will be completely destroyed. Destroyed. That scared K-Ni and Ngo Tran to death. These 2 kids are still young. Tell everyone this because from now on, relying only on Dao Dao and Diet Thien Vu won't be enough. More cultivators are needed. Tuyet Truk understands the big picture. If anything needs to be done, just say it. As long as it's doable, she won't refuse. First, Tuyet Truk should summon all Kim Chu Tree members, then gather all the refined stones they have collected over the years. Tuyet Truk is well aware that if any member objects, she will find a way to resolve it smoothly. Task 2 will be handled by K-Ni. She needs to try to attract as many cultivators as possible. K-Ni asked, "What about those with special abilities?" "I think cooperating with them would be more effective. This is a major issue involving the whole world. And currently, the number of people with special abilities is also very large. They are a potential force. This is also what worries Diep Tien Vu. Before cooperating, we need to confirm one important thing." K-Ni quickly asked what that was. "We need to clearly know whether those with special abilities are friend or foe. This is the key issue." At the Special Abilities branch in Hang Than in a room, Loi Tu was using equipment to help Liu Sa recover. He placed a flower petal in a glass case and waited beside it. When energy from the device transmitted into the petal began to gradually transform, it eventually formed a human shape. Throughout the process, Loi Tu stood there observing. When the glass case opened, Liu Sa sat up. Loi Tu asked how she felt, but the first thing she wanted to say was, "Captain, I have very important news to report. The monitor shows heart-stable recovery rate 100%. Liu Sa has fully recovered." Loi Tu said, "If anything comes up, wear your clothes and come to my office." Then, he left. When Liu Sa arrived at the office, Loi Tu wanted to know what important news could cause 2 of his people, one dead and one barely alive. Liu Sa reported that Ung Vuong was killed by members of Kim Chu Tree. Moreover, they found out that all members of the Kim Chu Tri organization are cultivators. Their special abilities' identities are all fake. This is truly shocking news. Loi Tu's reaction showed he was quite shocked by this information. Furthermore, the boss of Kim Chu Tree is the Scarlet Devil Cardinal whom we have long investigated. Loi Tu thought for a moment. Scarlet Devil Cardinal Kim Chu Tri cultivator. He understood clearly and told Liu Sa to go rest first. Seeing she hadn't left yet, Loi Tu asked if there was anything else. Liu Sa still harbored sorrow over Ung Vuong's death. Loi Tu is the captain. She just wanted to be sure he would avenge Ung Vuong. Loi Tu patted Liu Sa's shoulder. "Don't worry, I know what to do." Then Liu Sa left the room. At a bar, Li Wan Wan, another captain of the Special Abilities Association, was sitting drinking coffee. Loi Tu took a chair and sat across from her. Li Wan Wan didn't look away from her book. She said to Loi Tu, "It's late, why did you ask me out? If it's nothing important, you should know the consequences." Then she slammed the book in her hands as a warning. Loi Tu knew Captain Lai's rules. Today's news would surely please her. "Then I'll listen. What is it?" she said. Loi Tu replied, "One of my subordinates was killed by Kim Chu Tree. At the same time, I bring important news. All members of Kim Chu Tree are monks." For Li Wan Wan, this was truly good news. She paused for a few seconds. "So that means Tuyet Truk is also a monk." The one who struck was Tuyet Truk and their leader. This was an opportunity for Captain Lai to officially eliminate her. It seemed Li Wan and Tuyet Truk had a deep grudge. Loi Tiu hesitated. Although it was said that monks could be dealt with harshly, Kim Chu Tree's people were not to be underestimated. To act, they needed a careful plan, so Loi Tiu must have been prepared. Li Wan wanted to hear Captain Loi's plan. Of course, he already had a plan. After discussion with Diet Thien Vu's side, he said everyone knew what needed to be done. Then disband. Dao Dao stopped him. He asked what was wrong. If everyone decides to follow you, then later they will become a new sect. Then you need a territory, right? He thought that made sense, but it was easy. Kaney said finding a territory wasn't simple. Cities are different now. Housing prices are very expensive. A house like Lahan's has already cost 5 million yuan. But who are you? Don't worry, I've already prepared. He reached out his hand. A beam of light appeared. In his hand was a miniature model of Thien Sun. Du Zhao suddenly remembered that her young master had this thing. With this, there was no need to worry anymore. He set up the formation in a corner of the park, where there was a large rock, then told everyone to follow him. They jumped into the formation and disappeared. Everyone's eyes went wide. Where did they go? Except for Dao Dao, who had always trusted and followed him for a long time. She knew what it was. She said, "Don't be afraid, everyone, let's go." Dao Dao followed the young master inside. Everyone else entered as well. After the light disappeared, they opened their eyes. Everyone was surprised. It's so beautiful here, like a fairyland. Even Odat, who rarely spoke, had to say. It was truly breathtaking. Luke Deitch felt following him was the right decision. They would stay here in the Celestial Mansion from now on. There were many rooms and caves. They could also live inside the stone walls. Everyone was free to choose comfortably. Then everyone went to pick their own places to stay. Only Dao Dao and Diep Thien Vu stayed behind to admire the place. Dao Dao was emotional because she hadn't returned for a long time. Diep Thien Vu was troubled. If they didn't deal with those people, it would be very hard for Earth's residents to live peacefully. Dao Dao believed they would definitely win. If that battle with the human army broke out again, we wouldn't be able to do anything now. This was what worried him greatly. Zhao Zhao thought the urgent task now was to clearly determine whether the Special Abilities Association was an enemy or an ally. Their strength was very strong. If they were also opponents, we would face many troubles. Diep Thien Vu didn't know much about the Special Abilities Association, so he needed Zhao Zhao to explain in detail so he could understand. The Special Abilities Association includes 5 branches: metal, wood, water, fire, and earth. Each division is headed by a minister, and they are all extremely formidable figures. But according to the information Zhao Zhao obtained, they are the highest leaders of the association. Each division is further divided into 3 squads. There are a total of 15 team leaders. The team leaders are usually psychic users of level 6 or above. Judging by psychic ranks, Diep Thien Vu wants to know Dao Dao's current strength. She is equivalent to a level 6 psychic user. However, considering the strength of the puppet, Dao Dao can face at least 3 level 6 psychic users simultaneously. Thus, psychic power is indeed a significant combat resource. Diep Thien Vu decides to personally scout the situation. Somewhere on Earth, 2 aliens are waiting for something. Lightning strikes the forest and they realize the time has come. An object resembling a spaceship crashes through the treetops, causing a massive explosion that leaves a huge crater. Their plan officially begins. In the middle of the crater, an alien object is placed. Inside is an egg. After the 2 aliens approach and open it, they take the egg out. With this, even without the Tintung Lord appearing, we can still conquer this planet. Take a good look at this egg. It's one of the highest level spirit beasts on our planet. Although using it might be a bit wasteful, this planet caused us to lose a Tintung we cannot underestimate. We just need to complete the mission without worrying too much. One says to hatch it, we need to upgrade the body. Plus, Tran Kaiki's body is really too weak. The other reassures that they have a plan already prepared in the northwest of Jia Duquan City. A pair of legs walking on sand. Kim Tui points to Dung Quang's right middle finger and exclaims, "Finally, you've broken free." It's unclear what Dung Quang just escaped from, but he looks so happy he could cry. Dung Quang's posture looks like a monk. When he opens his eyes, those around him are terrified, but it seems they're not afraid of him. When Dung Quang turns his head, a huge, terrifying spirit beast appears. It looks like a giant desert lizard. Its appearance causes everyone around to scatter in panic. Seeing it, Dung Quang shows a joyful expression. He jumps straight onto its head and says, "Let's go." I wonder if the boss has found them yet. The spirit beast immediately becomes docile, no longer looking scary like before. Meanwhile, at the Kim Tui tree base, Li Wenwen leads subordinates to make arrests. "Tell me, where are the other members of Kim Tui tree?" Luke Bun has been captured but refuses to reveal anything. He even sneers. Psychic users only like to use underhanded moves like this. Hearing this, Li Wenwen understands he's admitting he's not a psychic user. Send 2 squads to arrest Luke Bun. They must already know. Why keep hiding? Li Wanwan lifts his chin with her hand. You're smart. Then quickly reveal the whereabouts of the other members, or do I need to threaten you? Luke Bun looks down on them. You have to deploy 2 team leaders just to deal with me, if you hope to find all members. Do you have to deploy all 15 team leaders? Li Wanwan is insulted, and Luke Bun's words sting sharply. She must be very angry. She orders her subordinates to take him back to the association and post a notice on the bulletin board. She doesn't believe that cultivators like them can sit idle. Luke Bun warns her not to get too cocky. After he is taken away, does Li Wanwan still have no news from Tweet Truk? But the association has already issued a notice. After 2 days only, Luke Ban was found. The other members of Kim Tui Tree seem to have vanished without a trace. Li Wanwan is determined not to give up. She must catch them all in the fairy mansion. Deep Tien Vu and Dao Dao are sitting watching Ngotron eat heartily. La Hun rushes over to announce, quick look at this. Deep Tien Vu asked her what had happened. La Hun used her phone to project the news being broadcast. The False Ability Association announced a newly formed False Ability Squad actively operating in the Jiangnan area formerly known as Kim Tui Tree. Unexpectedly, all members are cultivators hiding their identities. According to Captain Loi Tiu of the False Ability Association, cultivators are dangerous elements hiding within the city. If anyone sees the news, please immediately report to the False Ability Association number shown on the screen displaying their image. Then came an interview with Loi Tiu. Angry, he slammed the table. Cultivators are dangerous elements. Don't they know that 500 years ago it was cultivators who saved the world? The screen switched again to the news that Luke Ban had been captured. She froze for a moment, unable to stay calm. She intended to rescue him, but was stopped by a hand. She told Diep Tien Vu that person is from Kim Tui Tree. I have to go save Luke Ban. He advised her not to rush at this moment. Our identities have already been discovered by the False Ability Association. Given the current situation, false ability users and us are on opposing sides. But whether this opposition comes from a misunderstanding or something else still needs to be clarified so I can go rescue him. And by the way, investigate why the False Ability Association is hunting cultivators. What about the Jiao Jiao group, Diep Tien Vu suggested, if we can't sit still? Based on the current situation, the False Ability Association and cultivators are in opposition. Everyone should try contacting Tianmin. Maybe we'll find answers there first. I'll immediately assign tasks to Jiao. Have Tweet Truk contact Jung Kwang and La Tran to gather all Kim Tui Tree members and prepare a trip to Tinming. Tweet Truk has already contacted Jung Kwang. He's currently in the northwest and will return quickly. La Tran has been missing for over 2 months. I'll try contacting him again. But their original base has been sealed by the False Ability Association. Deep Tien Vu decided to go rescue first. Dao Dao anxiously reminded him to be careful. She couldn't hide her worry about his safety. Deep Tien Vu reassured her, then quietly disappeared from the immortal mansion. At the False Ability Association branch in Hangthun, 2 children looked up at the building with eager eyes. The boy turned to the girl beside him and said determinedly, "This is the False Ability Association. When I grow up, I will definitely become an outstanding false ability user." The girl, not to be outdone, excitedly replied, "Me too. I want to become a false ability user." False ability users are true heroes. After the 2 children left, Diep Tien Vu stood silently in a corner. His eyes were full of thought. He looked back at the False Ability Association building, then vanished into the cold air. Meanwhile, Loi Tiu suspiciously asked Li Wanwan has that Luke Bun been safely transferred. Li Wanwan nodded confidently. It's done. A dangerous person like him must be sent to the highest security prison. Loi Tiu still worriedly reminded Kim Tui Tree is not to be underestimated. Better to be cautious. Li Wanwan smiled and replied, "No need to worry. He wouldn't dare do anything." Diep Tien Vu appeared inside the False Ability Association building. While walking, he suddenly encountered an employee. The employee was about to speak, but before he could act, Diep Tien Vu swiftly knocked him out with a light strike to the neck. He carefully lowered the employee to avoid making noise. Although sneaking into a dangerous place, his demeanor remained relaxed as if taking a stroll. The important thing now is to find where they are holding the captive. Diep Tien Vu focused his spirit to search. Suddenly, alarm bells rang everywhere. Loi Tiu detected an intruder and immediately notified Li Wanwan. She quickly used the mic to announce downstairs, "There's an intruder. Take people to Area A immediately." Diep Tien Vu also sensed something blocking his spirit. Around him, cameras and alarm bells were operating at full capacity. Realizing the situation, he took out a mask and put it on. Just then, 3 staff members appeared and blocked his path. "You dare to storm into the Superpower Association alone? Truly reckless!" The leader shouted and quickly drew his weapon, aiming at Diep Tien Vu. However, his speed was even faster than the bullet. In the blink of an eye, he slipped behind that man. His eyes flashed spiritual energy, transforming into a sharp sword. With just one slash, all three men fell. Deep Tien Vu sheathed his sword and strolled away as if nothing had happened. Is Kim Thui's only strong person really that powerful? Could it be? Latran Loi Tiu agreed. According to the files, only Latran's information is unclear. The two immediately concluded that the intruder was Latran. Liuan Wan continued to give orders. Call out Defender number 2. Warning intruder alert echoed throughout the hallway. Deep Tien Vu was about to leave when the wall in front suddenly dropped, blocking his way. He tried to cut through with his sword, but the floor beneath him opened, dropping him into another room which looked like a prison cell with large bars in front of him. A pair of eyes lit up in the darkness. Loi Tiu and Li Wan watched every move on the screen. This is Defender number 2's first fight, truly exciting, Li Wan said with excitement. Loi Tiu couldn't hide his curiosity either. If the higher-ups assigned this one to us, we have to test its strength. I heard it's even stronger than Defender number 1. However, Loi Tiu was still worried. Don't kill Latran, okay? The bars lifted, but no sign of any energy appeared. Deep Tien Vu looked around cautiously, unsure of what he would face. Suddenly his eyes flickered as he realized the opponent was not human, but a huge robot. It swung its fist toward him with terrifying force. Deep Tien Vu, a man from 500 years ago, didn't know what to call this metal mass, but it was clearly dangerous. While he was distracted, thinking the robot attacked with a laser beam from its eyes, Deep Tien Vu was slammed into the opposite wall, leaving a large mark. Li Wan confidently said on the screen, "Looks like we don't need to intervene anymore." Loi Tiu, eager to meet Kim Thui's second character, dragged Li Wan there to watch the outcome. However, what they saw was not the expected scene. Defender number 2 was heavily damaged, parts scattered everywhere. Loi Tiu shouted in panic, "No way, this can't be happening!" Li Wan approached to check, her face darkening as she realized the parts made of high-grade steel were easily cut in half. Loi Tiu asked suspiciously, "Did that guy have a knife?" According to Li Oan, she put a finger to her lips, signaling silence. Li Oan. Wan gently lifted one leg up with her hand, pulled the belt from her waist, then flipped elegantly onto Chung's shoulder. She landed right on top of Defender number 2. While the surroundings were completely silent, Li Wan glanced around, but saw no one, not even below where Loi Tiu was. She called out loudly, "Where is everyone? Where did they all go?" Loi Tiu quickly grabbed the walkie-talkie, his tone decisive. "Seal off the building immediately. All units move on alarm." Click. The door slammed shut.